people couldn't spy in and see what's going on.
Yeah.
It would be kind of funny and ironic if they take it out for the first anti-gravity test, they turn it on, and it just goes whoop and disappears, and you never see it again.
Guess we're gonna have to start over again.
No, the better still would be they turn it on and it slowly starts to rise, and it starts to rise, and it starts to rise, and then somebody says, "Do we know how to turn it off?" And
it's
no.
like a balloon. It just floats away.
Off it goes. No.
No? Quick, unplug it.
Yeah.
We made it self-sustaining?
Yeah.
No.
Oops. Yeah, so anyway, so the anti-gravity thing was pursued somewhat by Nick Cook and also by Witkowski. Witkowski claims that the U.S. government actually has been working on anti-gravity devices for decades now and spending lots of money on it.
Oh.
Why wouldn't we?
Yeah, well, it's not a bad idea.
No, it's not at all.
Yeah, and the hunt for zero point energy is the energy state that a particle is in at its lowest state of energy, when it's coldest. And so apparently, and I don't understand the physics behind this or the math behind this at all, but apparently a particle at that point, if you can harness the energy possessed by that particle, then it's almost infinite. In other words, we would have a fantastic energy source. This is what, although other physicists have derided this as basically the equivalent of a perpetual motion machine. If you can find a way to get to release that energy, then you'll have all kinds of energy, but the energy required to release that energy will probably be more. In fact, almost certainly will be more than the energy you'll get back. It's kind of like nuclear fusion, same thing. That's our perpetual motion machine that we've been striving after for decades.
So spend $2 to get $1,
basically.
essentially.
Yeah.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. So nuclear fusion we've totally achieved. I mean, and it's not that we can't do that. We can do that easily, but getting more energy out of the transaction than we put in, that's the tough part. And we haven't figured that one out. When I was a kid, by today, we were supposed to all be, our entire society was going to be powered by nuclear fusion. They were sure of it. And we're still about that far away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you're a kid again, it'll be there maybe.
Yeah. Hey, kids, when you're adults, it's going to be all fusion. Yeah. I remember, and actually I wasn't around for this, but when nuclear power first came out, they said the energy would be so cheap there would be no point to even charging people for electricity. And, of course, that didn't come about either.
No. There was a lot of awesome claims that didn't really pan out.
A lot of optimism, yeah. I mean, there was talk after Hiroshima and Nagasaki. There was some actually people theorizing that it would be a fantastic money saver because we could dismantle our army. Because we just have nukes. Every time something goes wrong in the world, we'll lob a nuke at them. And so there's no point in having a standing army, tanks, battleships, or any of that stuff. Yeah, that never came about either. So besides the anti-gravity propulsion thing that involved that big hinge-like thing, there are other claims. There's been a number of authors that have come out with books about this thing. And one author says that the Bell was so important to the Nazis that they killed 60 scientists who were working on the project and buried them in a mass grave.
I did come across that.
That doesn't really sound like Nazis, mass graves.
Yeah, mass graves?
No, not at all.
No,
not at all. No, it's like, mass graves are kind of popular all around the world, frankly.
Unfortunately.
That's a great way to advance your project, though. It's so secret, we're going to kill you. That's how important your work is to us. Yeah, we're going to kill you.
So hurry up and get it done.
We value you so much.
Yeah. There's another author claims that it contains red mercury, and red mercury is kind of this big hoax.
We mentioned we
talked about that already. But he said that it had, when you put a concave mirror on the top of the device, it gave you the ability to see images from the past.
What?
So it's a time machine. Igor Witkowski said that the Bell ended up in a South American country. Nick Cook claims it was taken to the U.S. as part of a deal made with a general named Hans Kammler.
Sounds
so if this thing did exist, we don't know where it went.
You and I don't.
Us as the general public.
Government might.
Okay, now, I know that we're about to get into theories, but before we get into that, what I'm curious about is when I did some of the research, this bell, the Nazis moved it around a lot.
They did.
Over the course of 2 years. And this thing seems like it would be kind of a big deal to move around. Mm-hmm. And they moved it around, and I almost got the impression through some of the reading that they had more than one.
Yeah, I've heard that rumors of more than one also.
2, 3, 4 of them. They built the first one, and then we got to go here. Well, let's just build a new one there, and rather than packing this thing over there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which seems, I guess, if it's not hard to make, that's okay. But it's again, I mean, they were doing strange things. They were shuffling the deck constantly, so who knows what was going on in the high command. But
and this is one of those things too, like we've talked about in previous stories. Some of these stories grow in the telling. I remember, I know Witkowski only claimed that it was down in the Giant, the valley with all the cool secret facilities. But then other people have chimed in and said that no, it was housed in this university, and then wound up being moved here and moved there, and it's like, well, okay, maybe.
I guess the hard part is you don't know which is the true vein of truth.
Right.
Yeah.
The true vein of truth.
Yeah. So anyway, let's talk about some theories.
Sweet.
Yeah, we've already talked about this a little bit. It was an anti-gravity device that was claimed by Witkowski and Cook that then they were doing anti-gravity experiments, which could conceivably have produced a very powerful weapon for the war. I mean, I'm thinking like if you had a powerful enough anti-gravity device, you could build like a land battleship. Imagine a tank, but it doesn't need to actually like touch the land; it just floats over it, and it's like not the size of a tank. It's like the size of a small building. Yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
That would be terrifying.
And I know that some of the people that are supporting that it was for anti-gravity, they point out that scientists that were, and this is supposed, but scientists that were involved in the V2 and the V1 program, which is the Nazis' rocket program, which they were the innovators, and they had the farthest reaching rockets at the time.
Oh, yeah. They were way ahead of us.
Yeah, the same scientists were involved with the Bell. So they were thinking, well, if I can only get it so far propelled by fuel, what if I could just make the thing float over there? And the conjecture was that they were doing it because they knew they couldn't use a rocket, fuel-based rocket, to go all the way to, say, the States.
Yeah, which was something that they were working on. Was a bomber that could make
if
the U.S.
you had an anti-gravity device that could go there, it would be much simpler, and you could do it with less fuel because it's just floating along on its own power rather than pushing its way through the atmosphere and fighting gravity.
And I guess it wouldn't, if it were something that was kind of big and heavy, like the Bell, I think, kind of was, right? You don't even need to put explosives really in it for it to have some kind of damaging effect. If you've got a thing that's going really fast, that's really heavy, you can just barrel it through a bunch of stuff, right? Or even like ships, you don't have to shoot missiles or anything like that. You just shoot your thing and it pokes a hole in it. And
well, I was thinking more of it like it's just towing some kind of nuclear device or some kind of explosive device. And nuclear is the wrong word. Explosive device.
Yeah.
Like you watch helicopters towing things and they're dragging it under, they're suspended beneath them. So if this thing could float on its own and then just carry an explosive and then just get over its target and drop it and keep going, theoretically, that means it can come back to home and you can use it again.
There's lots of uses for it.
Yeah, I mean, they're all nefarious.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. You know, in order to like not be knocked down by U.S. fighters or whoever they were planning on attacking, they would have to be like above the atmosphere. So that essentially have to be a spaceship.
Yeah.
But you know, I mean, the Nazis were way ahead of us in many other regards. So they could have done that too.
Yeah.
Mostly, you know, it's shocking how far you can get when you don't really care about morals and people.
Yeah. It's true that. Yeah.
But
yeah, that was. We're gonna talk about some of those people, by the way, before we're done here.
Awesome.
Yeah, I know. So the anti-gravity thing, even though it's and Cook spent a lot of time in his book talking about not just the Bell, but talking about the U.S. government in general investigating the whole anti-gravity thing. They're like, he claims that they've been doing it a lot. He thinks that they have the Bell. He thinks that they've been spending a lot of money on anti-gravity research, which, you know, actually wouldn't really surprise me because actually it's something we should be trying to understand. If it's possible to understand how to make gravity waves, how to block gravity waves, then that would be pretty useful technology.
Yeah, you know, thankfully we haven't had any suggestions, nor do I think we have any interest in ever tackling like Roswell or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I do know that a lot of the kind of more modern, more believable theories about Roswell and Area 51 and things like that are that people see these things that they identify as unidentified flying objects because the U.S. military is testing these new kind of propulsion systems or anti-gravity or anything like that.
Or even stuff that's not even that out of this world, like the stealth fighter.
Which they definitely were developing there.
Yeah, and they kept that under wraps for a long time.
Absolutely.
And supposedly the CIA has admitted that they actually stirred the pot with UFO stories for a while, just so that if people spotted one of our experimental aircraft flying around, they would be dismissed as kooks.
Yeah.
So
and I think that's a strong possibility.
It's a smart play.
It is, and it would not shock me at all if that was something that we were working on. I don't have a problem with them working on that or keeping it secret. Honestly,
well, it would be an extremely powerful technology if anybody could actually do it. But I don't know that we understand gravity well enough at this point to really create an anti-gravity machine.
Yeah, I don't think we do.
Yeah, I could. If we figure it out in this day and age, it's gonna be an accident.
Yeah,
we're gonna stumble upon something and go, "Whoa!"
And we won't understand. We'll know how to do it, kind of, but not.
We won't know how to do it right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, but so I think that as far as like grabbing the Nazi bell and trying to rebuild a Nazi bell, I think the better to just fund theoretical research by scientists in the gravity and the nature thereof and all that stuff. We need to understand gravity a little bit better.
That's probably a good way to start.
Okay, so anyway, there's always, and I mentioned previously also there was a time travel machine theory, and this was like didn't allow you to go back or forward in time, but you could see backward in time, which would be kind of cool.
I guess, but I've always thought that that's one of the least useful time travel technologies. I mean, the ability to see into our past.
Yeah.
Right? Because, so I can understand seeing into our future or traveling into our past, but seeing the past is kind of like, no, we saw that already.
Yeah,
like,
it'd be...
Maybe not all of the
aspects. It'd be useful for murder investigations and things like that.
I was going to say, let's put this into context. So somebody reports a detractor is what you were called when you got reported to the SS. Wasn't that the correct word?
A detractor?
Yeah. What did they call when somebody would out you and say, "Oh, he's an enemy of the state," and then the SS
he's like a wrecker.
They'd kidnap you.
It was usually commies that would call him wreckers.
They would disappear you anyway. The SS people would say, "Oh, you know what? I don't like Joe. I'm going to report him." The SS, and then Joe would disappear because I had reported that he did something. So think about this. You are wondering if a high-level official is maybe not as loyal as you think he is and might be feeding information. It would actually be really informative and useful to be able to, if you could control the thing, focus on that guy and say, I know that in this time frame of, let's say, 2 months, he did some kind of off stuff. So let's just watch what he did and see if he did anything that wasn't right. And then we have proof, and we don't need to prove it in a court of law. We just know that we're right.
Yeah. The question is could it's tough enough to see in the past, but say you're there you were there in your secret factory and you're looking into the past. I would think you'd only be able to see into the past in your location.
Now you're putting parameters on it. We don't know what this thing could do. Yeah, so I'm saying maybe I could
maybe you could tune it to go to any location in the past. Maybe you can tune it
whenever and wherever I want it.
I got to say I'm impressed with those Nazis because that's pretty amazing.
Me too, and I also don't have the sense. I'm not by any means a Nazi historian. I don't know a whole lot about this kind of time in history or anything like that, but the impression that I have is not overwhelmingly that Nazis cared about individual life. I mean, I think that's kind of the idea of like communism is like for the greater good, right? So like, barring like a high level ranking officer, right? But 9 times out of 10, like if I go report Joe and he gets disappeared, I don't have the impression that they're going to be like, all right, we're going to turn on this machine and look into the past and see if you actually did this thing, more than they're just going to be like, wow, a bullet's super cheap.
Yeah.
Okay, but let's say it's...
No. I first of all, the Nazis were socialists.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah.
So I mean, so they thought that what they were doing was for the greater good too.
Right.
I mean, just like the communists did. And so, but it's like it always seems to be the way with commies and socialists is that it's always, well, you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs.
Exactly.
So,
that's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah. So they get crushed underfoot. But nonetheless, even in Nazi Germany, even though like they're a heartless bunch, they still can't kill everybody.
No, you can't kill everybody.
Stalin, for example, found out that murdering his entire officer corps in the army didn't really serve him well, in World War II. It's like all the competent people that could actually save my country from the invaders. Well, I had them executed or sent to the gulag. Oops.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Right, and of course, if that was a big thing, if that's what we're saying it was used for, is to exonerate higher ranking officers.
Well, it would also,
I am on board.
Well, it'd be a great spy tool as well.
Oh, it would
I
be.
want to see what the President of the United States was doing, and let's say I just tuned it in to 2 minutes ago for him and just watches it. So I've got a 2-minute delay on what the President of the United States conversation is.
All right, I'm on board now.
I don't
remember
believe it, but it's a freaking cool idea.
No, I remember when I was a kid, I used to read a lot more sci-fi than I do today, and Isaac Asimov wrote a story that was about this machine that this guy built that could look into the past. He could look, he could look into the past and anywhere, and it was really, really cool. But the thing about it is that every time somebody came up with this technology, government agents would show up and take it away. And so this guy, he had these government agents after him. So he just takes this, and he basically puts the whole thing out in public. He publishes everything about it so that anybody can build one of these things. And then the government agents say, you can look 100 years into the past, or you can look 2 minutes into the past. What you've just done is you've just destroyed everybody's privacy. Welcome to the future. Hole. Is what they said. Yeah. And so it was kind of a nice twist on the story.
What a jerk.
Yeah. What a bozo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, let's
that's
move
a little off topic.
Yeah. For a kind of a silly little theory. Another theory put out there is that it was a heavy particle accelerator, and they were using it to create weapons grade U-233. That's uranium. Yeah, so apparently there's people that have claimed that it has some sort of special acceleration process. There are these small particle accelerators that are called cyclotrons. That's kind of, if you don't want to have a linear accelerator that's like half a mile long, you can use a cyclotron, which moves the particle in a spiral outward from the center, and it builds up speed. And then you can smash particles into other particles and achieve fusion or fission or whatever it is you're trying to do. Among this theory is that they were trying to convert thorium-232 into uranium-233.
I don't know what any of those things mean.
Yeah, well.
Is this me being an idiot? This is me being an idiot.
No, this is.
Or is this complex?
This is
chemistry?
complex. This is complex chemistry.
Yeah.
I think the simple version is they were trying to take, what was the first one again, Joe?
Thorium-232.
Thorium, and they were trying to create uranium, which is then weapons grade, correct?
Yeah.
So they were trying to turn it into weapons grade uranium, and if this thing was a particle accelerator, again, this is my understanding of the science, and I'm not a mathematician or a scientist, but it has something to do with spinning at that velocity. You break off, I can't remember if I think it's electrons.
Yeah, the electrons break away from the nuclei.
Yeah,
and
so they
around.
recombine and slam together and then form a new element.
The Large Hadron Collider.
That's exactly correct.
Yeah, I think that specifically what is vaporized mercury spins in a magnetic field, and electrons become excited and disassociate from their atomic nuclei. They swirl around rapidly in a sort of a plasma inside this, and as they hit protons, they emit X-rays. This is, I have no idea. I'm not a physicist, but this is the way I've heard it described as the theoretical way that the bell could have worked.
So that would explain why people died, because X-rays are kind of a bad thing.
Yeah, so it generates X-rays, and then the X-rays, when the X-rays hit beryllium supposedly does what's called donating. It donates neutrons. And so basically,
Donates.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to donate. So essentially,
I need a deduction on my taxes. He's going to donate an electron.
Yeah.
No, I think beryllium is very generous. I don't think we should make fun of it.
Yeah.
So anyway, apparently under this theory, they were trying to use fusion to create, basically add protons and neutrons to thorium-232 to transform it to uranium-233.
So this is a better way to generate weapons grade.
Supposedly, I guess they were looking for
a simpler way.
Looking for a quicker, easier shortcut to create U-233.
Or maybe even a way like in the field to create it.
Well, there's no point in creating it in the field, though.
That's true.
Yeah, but...
you create it, and then you just, like, squirt gun it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
At the other guys, and then they're like, the X-rays are... My skin is melting.
Yeah. So
Worst super soaker party ever.
No.
Yeah. Well, so anyway, the heavy particle accelerator is probably one of the more credible theories. Certainly beats. I think it beats the time machine by a little bit.
I agree.
Yeah,
beats the anti-gravity device by not quite so much, but also by a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a fourth theory.
What's that?
It was a bell.
Oh.
Please tell me the uses of the Nazi bell.
It rings. Calls people to church. It's that's the Nazi bell. So, so you guys have been doing a little independent research on this yourselves, I assume.
Yeah.
Have you come up with any other credible theories for this?
I mean, I would say that my only other credible theory is that it's a made-up thing. It doesn't actually exist.
Well, we'll talk about that.
Oh, okay.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, the origins of it, of course, was Polish author Igor Witkowski, as we talked about earlier, wrote The Truth About the Wunderwaffe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it got wider play when Nick Cook published his book, The Hunt for 0 Point.
A couple years later, right?
Yeah.
And he probably sourced a lot of his information, if not all of it, from
Witkowski. Yeah. And he says he found him credible and believable. So a guy named Kurt Kleiner wrote a review of The Hunt for 0 Point.
Uh-huh.
And here's what he had to say about Cook's reliance on Witkowski. It's a little bit scathing. It's like, in a subtle sort of way. So why does Cook believe Witkowski? I'm quoting now. Witkowski had been recommended to me by Polish sources. Now I'm quoting Nick Cook. Through my work at Jane's, as someone who's both highly knowledgeable and reliable, had Witkowski been in any way a lightweight, I would have turned around and got on the first plane home. But when I saw him, I knew he was okay. Unquote. Just as shaky are most of Cook's conclusions. So anyway, quoting from
he just
Cook's
keeps
books.
going. This is a big review, and
I don't want to but it kind of rips on Cook just a little bit. You guys should read the review. It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
But so he relied very heavily on Witkowski's story. I don't know, and he claims that he was able to go because he spends a lot. He's supposedly kind of an expert on black programs, and black programs being the stuff that's in the black budget, the stuff that's hidden in the budget that you don't know about.
Right.
Things like the stealth bomber, for example, the stealth fighter. So he claims that by looking at our black budgets and stuff, he's been able to find huge gaping holes where he can infer lots of anti-gravity research and maybe, monkeying with the bell is going on. But there's a lot of big extrapolations going on there. He doesn't actually have access to that much information about that stuff. And so he relies on guys like Igor Witkowski. So anyway, back to Witkowski's. There's a little problem with his story, which is Jacob Sporenberg, who was indeed a high-ranking German SS soldier.
Mm-hmm.
But and of course it was Jacob Sporenberg was the guy that Polish intelligence supposedly interrogated and made a transcript of the interrogation, and then Witkowski got to read that.
Right.
And he talked about the bell.
Right.
So he was a soldier. He wasn't a scientist. He spent most of the war fighting partisans in Belarus and in Poland, and eventually wound up in Norway, where he was captured by the British. Let me throw up a map real quick, here. Well, first of all, down here, this is the Giant, the valley where all that secret stuff is going on in those vast complexes.
On the border of the Czech Republic and Poland.
On the border of the Czech Republic and not too far east of Germany.
Mm-hmm.
Sporenberg was initially stationed in Minsk in Belarus, which is, 800 to 1,000 miles northeast of there.
Yeah.
And eventually he was stationed in Lublin, Poland, which is several hundred miles to the east of where the bell would have been. And then after that, wound up in Norway. It doesn't appear to me from his biography anyway, unless they cleverly cut some stuff out. Number one, it didn't appear that he physically got anywhere close to the bell. And also, there's no particular reason why he would have been, because he was a soldier.
Yeah.
And basically kind of,
Didn't have a reason to be there.
had no reason to be there, really, and if he was, say, down there for any reason, it's not like somebody's going to take him aside and say, hey, check out this really cool anti-gravity thing we're working on.
Well, I don't know. You could be another soldier trying to impress him. Hey, buddy, you're not going to believe what I found.
What it kind of sounds like to me is, if you couldn't tell, I've never been to war. I've never been a soldier, but I have the impression that there's a lot of like kind of BSing and like storytelling, almost like campfire storytelling that happens.
Yeah.
Particularly if you're like in the trenches of an awful war, like.
Yep.
And it's human nature to kind of like make up these stories.
Yeah.
Pass
and I
the
think
time.
often you want to make up stories about this awesome new technology that you have, the people you are fighting for have, that's going to help you win a war. And so it's totally possible this guy heard somebody who was like, oh man, you know what I saw recently? Or like this scientist dude told me they've been working on. And it was just kind of a campfire story.
Yeah, but at the same time,
he got captured and interrogated, and he was like, okay, I'm just going to tell you everything that might be anything. And it's just kind of spiraled out of control. Does that even seem plausible? I mean...
Well, let's talk about that for a sec. So, by the time the Poles interrogated him, he had to have known he was going to be hung for his war crimes, because this guy committed some serious war crimes. Biggest among them, Operation Harvest Festival in Poland, which involved, they rounded up, the Nazis were having troubles with the local Jews. They were like, rising up, and because the Jews were basically being kept in slave labor camps. And so there were rebellions and all kinds of stuff, all kinds of trouble with them. And so they finally decided to just kill them all. And so Operation Harvest Festival was, they had all these slaves come out and dig quote unquote tank trenches, defensive tank trenches. And so that's what they basically got to dig their own mass grave. And then over a period of a couple of days, they slaughtered them all and then buried them there. 43,000.
Wow.
So we're talking a seriously huge, heinous war crime here.
Yeah.
So, like I said, he wound up being stationed in Norway, where he was captured by the British. After interrogation, they decided to send him to London for further interrogation regarding his war crimes. And he was eventually extradited after the war to Poland, and he was executed by the Poles in 1952.
So it's unlikely that he would be trying to trade information for...
Well, precisely, yeah, because there's no point. He knows he's going to get shot or strung up or something.
Well, but people are inherently trying to stay alive as long as possible.
Yeah, we're optimistic.
Yeah. And it's kind of a well-known fact that if I'm in custody, I might as well just start telling you everything I can, because as long as I'm talking, you got a reason to keep me alive.
It's a little Scheherazade, right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Arabian Nights.
Yeah. It took me a second to make that connection.
I also just, turned a name into an adverb or adjective.
But you keep talking, you just keep giving them, even if you're just pulling it out of your backside, you just keep talking and telling them stuff, because they'll just keep writing it down and going with it.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think that would have bought him about an extra 5 minutes, but so not really worth it. Yeah. And he had a credibility problem there, in that he was basically, his job was just to repress people and slaughter Jews and stuff like that, and so he has no credibility when it comes to talking about secret scientific things. So anyway, that's why I don't think Witkowski's story is really credible, because I don't see how Sporenberg could have been involved in any sort of scientific project. I don't see why he
seems like we got a pretty good record of what he was doing.
Yeah, and I don't see why he would have spent any time in interrogation talking about some secret Nazi Bell thing.
Sure.
It doesn't make any sense to me. It could have happened. I mean, you never know. I mean, they might have drugged him, and it might be, by this point in time, he'd spent years in cells and in interrogation rooms and everything like that. Maybe he was out of his mind. I mean, by this time.
Might have cracked.
Yeah,
or maybe, solitary does awful things to people, and they just want to they'll say anything,
So, anyway, let's talk about Nick Cook for a second. He seems a little credulous, and he seems like a credible person, because he worked for Jane's Defense Weekly, and now even like since then he submits articles as a contributor to Financial Times, Wall Street Journal. Not a raving loon or anything like that, but he seems a bit credulous. I came across an interview of him in the Atlantic, and this is from a ways back. And he's queried about a guy named John Hutchison. And he spends some time talking about Hutchison, and he thinks his stuff is interesting and credible and true. But Hutchison, if you do a little internet searching on the guy, he's a total crank who has claimed that he created a zero-gravity field. And he's been able to transmute metal, steel to lead, things like that, using, and what else? He says he's created a battery that has almost infinite power. He's made all these claims. He can't replicate any of these claims. And so he's universally accepted as just a loon and a crank.
So basically what you're getting at is that Cook kind of buys in easily to maybe not the right people?
He seems, kind of. Yeah. Also in his book, he talks about Hans Kammler. We talked about that a little earlier. And he said that Hans Kammler had arranged for clemency from the Allies by trading them a lot of valuable technology and scientific research.
Mm-hmm. That's how the Bell supposedly came to the States.
Yeah, Hans Kammler moved the Bell to a safe spot, a hidden spot, and then negotiated with the U.S. and said, hey, I've got this incredible Wunderwaffe, and this anti-gravity time machine device, and, if you guys will, and this guy was also a war criminal, so if you guys will forgive my sins, I'll tell you where it is. And so that is what Cook claims. But I did a little research on Hans Kammler's biography, and he was a civil engineer, and he built a lot of things, including concentration camps. He designed and built, like, for example, some of the crematoriums where they gassed all the Jews and some of these trips. And he was involved in a lot of stuff like that. He was a competent engineer, and he rose in power and eventually wound up being in charge of not just he was charged with building a V2 rocket production facility, and then eventually he wound up being put in charge of actually running the facility and producing V2 rockets, which were, by the way, produced with slave labor.
Of course.
One of the reasons he was very effective at it is because he was ruthless and he didn't really care about working people to death and things like that. And later on, he got put in charge of aircraft also. Cook claims that Hans Kammler was in charge of all of their secret weapons programs. But that's not true. That's an exaggeration. He was in charge of rocket production and apparently aircraft production. But that's about it. He was a civil engineer. He wasn't a scientist. But Cook claims that he was in charge of all these super secret programs and that, therefore, he was the guy that could have traded these to the Allies. But no.
So we're saying he's not super credible, Cook.
Yeah. So, I would say he is not credible. And so, and since he is the guy who actually popularized this theory, I mean, Igor Witkowski is the guy who first put it out there into the public square. But Cook is the guy who actually sold a lot more books on this whole thing. Yeah. It seems to me like Cook is a bit of a crank after all. It's like hard to believe, but apparently.
Cook is a crook.
So that's kind of the end of our theories?
Well, that's not a theory about the.
Well, yeah, that's kind of a detraction of the story itself.
That's kind of the end of at least my research, at least because the only information we have on this thing is from Witkowski, and then through Nick Cook, Witkowski. I don't see that Nick Cook has been able to uncover any more about the Bell.
Yeah,
about the Bell. He's conjectured about Hans Kammler, but none of that is credible. Hans Kammler wouldn't have had access to the Bell. So where did the Bell go? Is it like buried somewhere still in Czechoslovakia? Is it in America? Is it in a South American country? Well, I think it never existed, personally.
Devin, what are your thoughts?
I think that Joe has been fairly persuasive in that the evidence is strong that perhaps it never existed. But you guys know me, so I'm going to say you could look back in time with it, even though I think that's useless technology.
Mm-hmm.
I personally, though I don't get it, I am swayed by the amount of science that is written about the Bell.
Mm-hmm.
I also don't know that it really existed, but people have theorized a lot of stuff, and it seems to have some credible science behind it, which is pretty interesting. And I also like the time thing, but I have also seen that it was a time machine. And I kind of like that theory.
Yeah.
And we're not, I don't want to go into it a whole lot here, but have you heard the theory that time is one giant loaf of bread and every moment is a slice?
Yeah.
That time is a circle.
No, that it's a loaf of bread, and that you can if you go back, you're going back to the previous slice.
Yeah.
If you look it up, and you actually, I think if you just Google time is a loaf of bread or a slice of bread, you can find this theory because it's really kind of
I've heard about
but
this
simple
theory,
and interesting.
Yeah.
And I like that idea. I think it's kind of slick. I also don't think the thing is real.
No.
Time is just an endless circle.
Time is a piece of toast.
No, I am making a listener call out. Name that reference. Time is an endless circle.
Time is an endless circle. Okay. There's another theory that, and actually it's credible, that time is actually doesn't actually really, well, it exists, but it's just a way for us to sort out reality.
This is another show.
Yeah, no. This is just only take a sec.
Okay.
It's like time, essentially, what happens, what's going on is that everything is happening all at once. What happened yesterday, what's happening right now, what's going to happen tomorrow, all happen at the same time. Time is just our way of
it's our mental construct of perceiving the world around us.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, this is another show.
Yeah, okay.
We will do this on a show.
All right, we'll talk about this at some other
promise.
time. Yeah, so anyway, the time machine, that's exciting, fun stuff. The thing about it is like the stuff that's been spun, like you're talking about, there's some of the theories that have been spun about how it could have like been used to create uranium-233 and stuff like that. I've seen some very elaborate depictions of the internal setup of this thing and how it all worked.
Well, and you sent me something about how in 2001 somebody claimed to have recreated a scale version of the bell.
Yeah, exactly. And it's
it exuded gravitational fields, or I don't remember what it was.
But. Yeah, and it's like, and it's interesting because, again, Sporenberg was the only source of information for this thing. And Sporenberg did exist, but he's been dead since 1952. So he describes this thing and describes basically as a box and says, well, it's capable of doing this. And then somebody in 2001, based on that, goes out and creates a replica of it. It's like, really? How did you manage to do that? I could see if you stumbled across some plans and you knew precisely what it was supposed to do and you had an idea of how it worked and everything, you could do that. But Sporenberg didn't have a clue how, if it really existed, he had no clue how it worked or even precisely what it did.
Yeah. I have a new theory.
Yeah, what's that?
The bell was actually a field shower.
That works.
You would get in it, and it would spiral water up and heat it up and just shower it down on you, and you'd have privacy.
Mm-hmm.
And they moved it around so that Hitler could.
It was a mobile shower. It was a mobile spa.
That works. Yeah.
It was the mobile spa.
Yeah.
We just mistranslated the German. It's badly recorded.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's
that's
actually De Führer's Spa.
Yeah. I think that's my new theory.
Yeah.
It's actually a spa.
Talking about new theories, if you look at it, it actually almost looks like a space capsule. Like they, maybe they were working on a space capsule. Maybe they were going to put a man in orbit.
They were going to replace the Liberty Bell.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was.
When they finally invaded America.
There it is.
That would have been actually a cool prank, They sneak in, and one day Americans get up, and there's this bell with a swastika on the side of it.
That's not
hanging
cracked.
in Philadelphia.
I think that's the strongest theory yet.
All righty.
I think that's what they were. Yeah, they were totally going to punk us. Okay, so that's about it. We've talked about this long enough. So if you want to learn more, we'll have some links up on our website, which is, as always, thinkingsidewayspodcast.com. And if you want to find us on iTunes, we're out there too. If you do find us, please stop to give us a comment and a rating. We would really appreciate that. You can also find us on Stitcher if you don't want to go through that whole iTunes thing. Also,
iTunes
I know
thing.
it's so much work. And of course, you can find us and like us and friend us on Facebook. We are on Facebook. And send us an email at thinkingsidewayspodcast@gmail.com. Well, that's about it. If you guys have any comments about us, we would totally love to get an email from you about the Nazi Bell.
And if you are the Nazi Bell, please send us an email.
Please.
We would love to hear from you, Nazi Bell.
Also, I think we're going to have to do some deciphering because I don't know if the Nazi Bell has hands.
Yeah. It's kind of hard. He's got to tap. He's got to use the top of his face.
We'll have to use Google Translate.
Top of his face.
Yeah. If you're a Nazi war criminal who was involved in this, we would love to hear from you.
We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah.
If your skin was melted off by the radiation from the Nazi Bell,
absolutely.
Please.
So that's about it for this week. So ta-ta, everybody.
Talk to you next week, guys.
I'm pretty sure it was aliens.
No doubt.
Our online studios in beautiful Bothell, Washington, exclusively at WrestlingObserver.com. You're listening to The Brian and Vinny Show with your hosts, Brian Alvarez and Big Vinny V.
All right, everybody, it's the Brian and Vinny and Craig show here on Vinny's birthday.
That's right.
Woo! Yeah, I knew that. I had to smarten up Craig there. Big Vinny V's birthday today. On
Check my
his
Twitter
birthday.
at 5 a.m. when I wished him happy birthday.
I don't think I follow you.
You do.
For Vinny's birthday today, he brought us brownies. How sweet.
My wife asked, "What do you want for your birthday?" And I said, "I want your peanut butter brownies. I haven't had those in a long time." She made them hot out of the oven, and I got one, and she said, "You have to take the rest over to Brian's later."
Why?
That's what I said.
Why can't you take your own brownies home?
Well, whatever's left over, I'm taking home, believe me.
Oh, well, shit. Stop the show. I deliberately waited till after the show to have brownies. I can't eat before the show. I may get a stomachache.
Have a brownie after the show. I'll patiently wait while you eat a brownie.
All right, well, I'm going to eat that whole tray. I'm tell Whitney right now. Eat all the brownies while you can.
Oh, I let them know. I'm taking home whatever I can.
So why didn't she make you your own platter?
I don't know.
Just haven't been a good boy this year?
I asked her this. It's my birthday. I like for all the baking you do. And well, for all the baking she does, one time I asked her something special. On my birthday, I just want a platter of peanut butter brownies. She made them. She says you have to share them. And she didn't have time to make me any more because she was also making chocolate chip cookies and snickerdoodles and Lord knows what else.
So stuff you don't like.
Well, I like them.
Nice.
But these are my favorites.
Vinny, here's my serious question. Why didn't you put them in the car and then pretend that you were going to bring them in, not bring them in, don't tell us, and then just take them back home?
I'm a terrible liar.
Dude, you don't even have to lie. Just forget. You're very good at that.
You don't know. Well, that's true. But...
See? Oh, here's a message from Whitney. Oh, I plan to.
Great.
Tell your parents. All right.
Oh, they know. They know. It's all out
Oh,
there.
everyone knows? Okay.
If the truth is, if I come home and there's not brownies eaten, I'm in trouble. Frankly,
That's why you eat a bunch of them in the car on the way here, and then you eat a bunch of them on the car on the way back.
that would have been a plan.
Yeah.
But yes, she'd be very upset with me if I don't share.
Oh, man.
And she probably, to be honest, had I tried that, she probably would have checked with Whitney.
Well, that's true. That's true.
It's very important to her that everyone eats the brownies.
Well, we're all going to eat the brownies, all right.
For
Fear
those
not.
of you wondering, it is Washington State. These are just brownies.
Yeah, they are just brownies.
Brownies.
There's
peanut butter
nothing
cups. Yeah.
special about these brownies.
Yeah.
That's not true.
I mean, they're special, but they're not
Not
special.
that kind of special. Not Ed kind of special.
It is very special.
Ed is incredibly special.
All right, let's get going.
Raw, real quickly before we get into this, what's our review of every Raw in 1998?
I don't know. I thought this one was pretty good.
Everything sucks except Vince and Austin, which is
Well,
awesome.
I enjoyed this very much.
Dude, this show is way better than usual. Way better than
I
usual.
watched this show several days ago, but I'm going over my notes. I seem to hate it, so we'll see what happens.
Oh, man.
Retro Raw 281, October 12th, 2 days after my birthday in 1998.
By the way, someone mentioned, can you believe that the day that Impact kicks off their brand new streaming service,
My birthday?
it's on your birthday?
After they once planned their anniversary show on my birthday.
Yeah, I was going to surprise you, but my birthday present to you is I got you a subscription.
My birthday present to you is Craig's going to punch you in the face.
So now you can watch all of the classic.
Do we have to wait till July?
Hey, Vinny, think about this. Not only can you watch all that Impact, but you can watch Wrestling at the Chase.
Well, that'd be cool, actually.
That's kinda
See?
cool.
Exactly. Because I am a good liar. All right, let's go.
Craig, punch him in the face. Earlier tonight,
It was Nitro, right?
this is Raw.
What do we normally start with?
Raw.
We do okay.
All the time.
Yeah, it's getting to the point
How
now.
many times have I asked what we start with and I get yelled at?
I know, but see,
all the
here's
time.
what's happening. It's finally getting to the point where Raw is so much better than Nitro that I'm about ready to move it to the main event slot.
I see.
For a long time, Nitro got the main event slot because it was better.
I see.
And then you got to remember that, like, Raw has been pretty terrible.
For a long
And so
time.
it's neck and neck, so I haven't wanted to switch anything yet.
Yeah.
But if Raw continues to improve and Nitro continues to decline, they're going to switch.
Oh, they are going to switch.
Just
then.
like they did in Figure 4 Weekly 19 years ago.
Never noticed that.
Yep.
So earlier tonight, a car horn was frantically honking outside the building. The gate opens. Vince McMahon drives his convertible Corvette with WWF1 license plates into the building. Sarge and the Stoogers are there to help him into his wheelchair like a Bond villain. And said, Vince is yelling at the idiot operating the garage door, says, "Leave it open. I want to make sure Steve Austin gets in later." And he gets in his chair. He's driving along. He's cursing everyone. He's not happy how slow it goes. New Age Outlaws versus LOD 2000.
Anybody notice that the big breakup angle with Billy Gunn and Road Dogg just totally dropped?
Yeah.
And Billy Gunn, he comes out and Road Dogg's doing his usual promo, and Road Dogg just says one line like, "Sometimes friends have differences." And that's like the blow off of the whole feud.
Mm-hmm. His promo was essentially, we teased a breakup, but we changed our minds, and we're moving on. LOD 2000 here was Animal and Draws, with no explanation of why Draws was one of them now.
Well, they
because-
explained it on commentary.
Yeah.
Hawk's sobering up.
Yeah, he's built up.
And Animal said that it would be good if for the time being, he was an alternate, he
Okay.
said. So, Draws is replacing him.
Why Draws?
A big football, tough guy.
He's
Ugly.
teamed with him before.
He's perfect.
You sold me on ugly.
Yeah,
And he has a bad haircut.
sure.
Bad haircut, yes. So yes, Hawk
And he
did-
vomits, just like Hawk.
Hawk came
and
out-
Hall.
Hawk, that's right, actually. Hawk came out in his face paint and street clothes to do commentary, talk about his painkiller habit and his addiction, which is now part of the show. On the next pay-per-view, everyone, if you drop your money, you can see in the comfort of your own home all three dudes in LOD versus DOA and Paul Ellering. That sounds awful. And speaking of, like a minute in, DOA and Paul Ellering ran down and attacked Hawk. Draws and Animal joined in. The Headbangers appeared. They broke a boombox over Road Dogg's head. The bell rang. They left. This is a set of the Headbangers getting a title shot at the pay-per-view. Road Dogg is bleeding everywhere. It barely made camera. This show is complete shit and not even 10 minutes old.
Wow, I didn't think it was that bad. But I did like how the match is the New Age Outlaws versus Legion of Doom 2000. And they played DOA's music as everybody left. Even though they were just two geeks that interfered.
The announcer said Triple H had been stripped of the Intercontinental title. They do not say why, other than Vince is mad.
Well, he's on crutches.
Well, there's a clue.
He's injured.
It says there will be a tournament for the belt tonight. Vince and the Stooges are in an office watching a monitor backstage. They have the monitor tuned into the entranceway, where who is entering but Kane in his tracksuit and mask.
Hey, he finally wore his real mask this time.
That's true.
His creepy ski mask gimmick. I guess they took one look at that.
It still never fails to make me laugh.
Not the last ski mask we'll see on the show.
Well, I suppose not. Steve Blackman versus Ken Shamrock in an Intercontinental title tournament match.
Man, here we go. By the way, it's a 2-hour show. It's an 8-man tournament. It's a one-night tournament.
Mm-hmm.
So you can guess how long these matches are.
Mm-hmm.
The answer is short.
They claimed Blackman had a bad leg. Shamrock was working it over, and after a brief comeback, he hooked a knee bar, and Blackman tapped out. At this point, Houston hit the ring, but the Blue Blazer
sad day.
Attacked both men. He left. Shamrock got mad, put Blackman in the ankle lock again. Or for the first time, I guess. Different submission hold. Yeah, I mean, it's not their fault that watching the Blue Blazer sucks now, but it sucks now. And even if it didn't, they had a match. A guy ran in and attacked both men and left. And after the match was over, one of the guys attacked the other guy. This is too much going on.
Well, here's the thing when you watch a Vince Russo television show. If there's ever a moment where it seems like things are slowing down, something's going to happen. Because he believes if there's one single moment where a fan gets bored, they're going to switch the channel. So he's got to just have 9 billion things going on. A fine theory, shit in execution.
I noticed Ken Shamrock in this match, former UFC fighter, just a wrestler.
Yeah.
He doesn't do any UFC. They stripped him of all of that. Vinny and I, a few weeks ago, saw Matt Riddle wrestle live. Oh my gosh, can this guy take what he knew in UFC and use it in a pro wrestling style fight?
Well, he started out as an MMA fighter, and Ken Shamrock started out as a wrestler.
Okay. So
Shamrock just falling back on what he knew. Plus, they figured no one knew any of this shit anyway.
Okay, explain Tom, who uses...
Yeah, but it's 2000. It's totally different now. Like, people have been watching UFC since 95. So this was 98.
I was going to let him hang.
Actually, I paused because it was actually 93 that people started watching UFC. But anyway, the point is, it was too early for them to understand all of this stuff.
I see.
Like, Ken Shamrock put the guy... At one point, Ken Shamrock puts a guy in a reverse triangle, and the announcers had no idea what it was. They were calling it like a neck hold. It's like Granny was calling the match. So you can imagine the fans. That was Jim Ross that actually knew what he was talking about.
Okay, that's fair.
Speaking of Jim Ross, the Blue Blazer comes out, and normally when a guy is masked, like, nobody knows who he is. Blue Blazer comes out, and Jim Ross goes, "Oh my God, it looks like, and I'm thinking, is he really going to say Owen Hart? And then he goes, "It looks like the Blue Blazer." No, it can't be. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's the fucking Blue Blazer. He's right there in front of you. That's the Blue Blazer. Because Owen had been the Blue Blazer.
Yes.
Yeah.
I went to a house show in Tacoma when the Blue Blazer was at the height of his powers. And some man had dressed up in a green outfit and had a large sign that said the Green Blazer.
Well, hey.
Different connotation.
Right.
Different kind of hero. Speaking of heroes, The Undertaker arrived at the building. Now, it's not enough that he's got to wear the sweater and the sweatpants tucked into, like, army boots.
It's a good look.
He's just walking, no coat. It's October at night. He's just walking down the ramp. Nobody's following him. He has no bags. He has no car. Does he just walk the earth?
He's the dead
like
man.
Kane in Kung Fu?
He's the dead man.
Well, first off, I was glad he wasn't wearing a backpack, because that would have really set me off. But I do love the idea that he just got like a cab, and he was like, just drop me off in front of the building. I'll walk.
I'll walk in from here.
The goddamn door's open. It's a bay door with a ramp that you could drive a cement truck down that thing, as we were to see. Undertaker just gets dropped off outside the building and wanders on in.
Where's his stuff?
I don't know.
Did he drop it off earlier? Did he ship it ahead?
He shipped it ahead, I guess.
He's so important that they make the WWE drag it around for him.
I can actually buy that. Terry was about to give Val Venus a hand job in the arena steps. We got a Goldust highlight video showing him destroying Razor Ramon and Roddy Piper. And when I say destroying, he just beat them and beat them and beat them in these highlights. It was actually funny. Val Venus versus Mark Merrow in a tournament match. Announcers, this won't mean anything to Brian, it may not mean anything to Craig. When the announcers were talking about college football games, I mentioned Ron Dane, and I thought that was 2 decades ago. That made me feel old. It is my birthday. So, in a 2-minute match, Jacqueline took the ref, Terry distracted Merrow, Val had a fisherman suplex and won, Jacqueline tackled Terry on the floor, Geeks came out to separate them.
Dude, you want to talk about Ken Shamrock not using any MMA? Jackie knocks her to the ground and starts trying to take her back. I couldn't figure out what was going on. And then she kind of falls off of her back and ends up in the guard. She grabs her arm. I could not for the life of me. This was the most bizarre cat fight of the 90s.
You know, her top is...
That's where I was going with this.
It's
how much
structurally, this is amazing. It's holding that much mass.
Yeah. The yards of tape this was required to keep everything inside.
And it almost failed.
Well, almost. It still counts. Paul Bearer arrived with a briefcase. This made Vince upset for some reason. Michael Cole tried to interview Sable. It was hysterical because he says, basically, Sable, your thoughts. And Sable responds by walking away from him, which I imagine many women have done. And she went to go find it. Jacqueline drags out to the arena. Sable had even more tape than Jacqueline, and they just brawled and brawled.
Dude, they had another Jackie's in her guard, throwing shots. It was a serious deal here. It was a fracas, they said, with boobies everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Cannot believe they were held in.
And for that reason, they replayed the brawl after the break. I was stunned when I watched this, and I go back and I'm going over my notes now. It's Sable. Of course they did. Mankind versus Mark Henry in a tournament match. They were in Long Island, so some cheers for Mankind, although not as many as you'd think.
Well, before they had this match, Mankind does this promo where he pulls out Mr. Sacco. The place goes nuts. Mankind literally buries Ken Shamrock because he can't swing a chair hard enough.
Yep.
Oh, my God. Can you imagine?
Nope. Henry cut a promo. It was just a love poem he recited to China. So she came out 10 seconds into the match.
Okay, so if you filed a sexual harassment lawsuit against somebody, would you then go on national television and recite a love poem to them? I'm
going to assume Mark Henry's legal counsel probably did a facepalm when this poem aired. He may have weakened his own case.
You don't say.
Yeah. Highlight of this match was Mankind legitimately tripping over Henry's foot on an Irish whip.
You sure that's what happened?
Pretty sure. Because
I thought he had his leg kind of worked over, and then he took his shoe off like he had a broken ankle.
Because he went to whip Henry in. Henry reversed it. Foley tripped over his foot and went down. And then they just got back up and did the same thing.
It was weird.
Yeah. Regardless, he hits the DDT, Foley does, and he goes to pull out the sock. And fans can see where this is going. They're starting to cheer. Socko's already over. And he debuts the Socko Claw. Does take the sock off his own foot. He uses the Socko Claw to win.
1 week, he got this over.
He's great.
Yeah. Write that down.
This is the best match of the night so far, and it involved the winner tripping like a goof right before the finish.
I'm glad he moved to putting it in his pants instead. This dirty sock on his foot into a dude's mouth.
No,
so you would rather...
It's too much even for me.
Anyway.
Well, it could be outside the gear.
Yeah, it could be outside his gear, but inside his pants.
Mm-hmm.
Know what I mean?
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be, wrapped around his nutsack.
I prefer it was not. I bet he would prefer it was not.
But everyone would prefer it wasn't.
Yeah. China confronted Henry, who blew her off and walked away.
He said, it's out of my hands.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing here. So if you're going to file like a sexual harassment lawsuit against somebody, wouldn't you also have a restraining order involved?
Absolutely.
She's right there in the ring in his face. This guy needs a better attorney.
It's almost as if the person writing this didn't know what they were doing.
It's funny because you think he'd be slapped with one of these.
That's actually a good point. A cement truck drove into the building. Steve Austin climbed out, surveyed the scene, and climbed back in. They go to break. They come back. Cole tries to interview Austin. Austin said he had an invitation to arrive, said he hoped Vince was paying attention. What he was going to do would be of interest to the McMahon family. Vince saw this, ordered the Stooges to go check it out, and Sarge got up, tripped, and fell onto Vince's ankle. They are great heels. Jeff Jarrett versus X-Pac in an Intercontinental tournament match. The first minute of this match, everything they did was off. One guy was out of position or they just both fucked it up. But they were better fucking stuff up than the 1998 version of Mark Henry was getting everything right. So I enjoyed this.
Well, you know, X-Pac was in it.
Mm-hmm.
Where's Farmer when I need him? Somebody on the board made the comment that, and everyone talks about what a great wrestler Jeff Jarrett was, but aside from the match with Shawn Michaels, name another great Jeff Jarrett match.
None are coming to mind.
None of them come to mind. Well, you know, maybe that's because there were other guys better than Jeff Jarrett.
Are you going to call Matt and play the show for him so you can argue?
No. I'll let him know when I see him.
I saw it live. It's not worth it.
You know how some things never change when we watch these shows? Jerry Lawler's making jokes about the Yankees and the Indians in the playoffs. Amazing. So let's see. X-Pac goes for a Bronco Buster. Jarrett catches him with a boot right to the nuts. Then Jarrett rolls outside, grabs a guitar case.
Yeah, for the first time in his damn career, he puts his guitar in a case.
Never happened before.
Never happened before.
And of course, he opens the case and the guitar's not in it. He is 0 for 1 on keeping the guitar in the guitar case. What wasn't it was head. Jarrett was distracted. X-Pac rolled him up and pinned him. Al Snow ran in, grabbed head and ran away. And then Jim Ross said Al and Jarrett had a budding rivalry, apparently.
Apparently. I mean, I don't know. I will say, though, that we must believe as fans that Jeff Jarrett, before the show, walked down to ringside surreptitiously with his guitar case and hid it under the ring.
Mm-hmm.
And somewhere else, Al Snow saw this and knew that he had a plan for later. And he snuck down, removed the guitar, and put head in it.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that when Jarrett opened the case, he would be so surprised to see a head that he would be rolled up and pinned in the wrestling match.
Yes.
I don't buy this for a second.
He's a master criminal. Like Heath Ledger's Joker.
Not for a second.
8 steps ahead of everybody. They go backstage. Vince is looking on helplessly. Austin fills the Corvette with cement. It fills and fills and fills. All the windows break. They keep cutting to Vince for reaction shots. And Austin gets off and storms off. Took 128 start to finish. It felt like to the back. Here it's done. To the break. This is the third historic moment in 3 straight weeks we've seen after the Zamboni and the hospital attack. Zamboni was still great. Hospital attack was maybe even better than I remembered. This left me underwhelmed.
Well, you know, they destroyed a $50,000 car, they said, and it was to the back.
Yeah.
They built it up so much. They were talking about Vince had, a dozen of these things, and he was going to put it in a show later that weekend. He was driving in the rain with the top down, as douchebags do.
Well, you know what you got to remember here is that the Zamboni involved Vince getting his ass kicked, and the hospital involved Vince getting his ass kicked, and this involved his car getting filled with cement.
Well, it was spectacular. I mean, there's the shot, and someone mentioned on the board that the weight of the cement pushes the windows outside and snaps them.
Sure.
But they cut to Vince before the glasses even hit the ground. Nothing about this was allowed to sink in. And in fact, when Austin gets out of the truck and walks away, cement is still pouring out. The job was not yet done.
Right.
It was very rushed.
Well, the job was done all right.
It was done.
It was all
gone.
done.
But
I would have freaked out if he dropped a chocolate bar on my interior. So that's just me.
Well, that sounds like a dare.
Vinny, please don't.
So, Austin comes out for a promo. He says Vince has screwed him. This sealed Vince's fate. He will make Vince's life a living hell as long as they are both in the company. Out comes Vince on stage. He is accompanied by a mysterious masked bodyguard and cops with dogs. And Austin storms at the ramp. Vince orders the dogs to bark. They bark at each other.
Austin's flipping off and mocking the dogs.
Yes.
That was a highlight.
I don't think this went like they had planned.
I'm sorry, that was not the highlight. The highlight is still to come.
Yes. Well, Vince cuts a promo. Says this is part of his Corvette collection. He's so angry, he books Austin and Rock against Taker and Kane later. Warns Austin to have eyes in the back of his head. He blames Austin for what Taker and Kane did to his ankle. And really, that was the point where he really, really got going in this promo. Due to this ankle injury, he may never play polo again.
Starts lamenting his sad sack life.
May never get on a horse. He recaps everything that happened in the hospital.
My rectal area.
You hit me with a bedpan, shocked me with a defibrillator, violated my rectal area, and then he emphasizes that damn open hospital gown. That was funny. He said, on Sunday, if Austin refuses to raise the hand of a new WWF champion, Vince will fire him on the spot. Austin says, you don't have the balls to do that. And here, for, I believe, the first time, Vince said he had balls the size of grapefruits. He threatened again to fire Austin on Sunday. Now hit the music. And
he said, you will be humbled this Sunday. Mm-hmm. You will either raise the hand of the winner on the spot, or I guarantee that I will fire your ass. Now hit my music. This was the best promo of the 90s.
This is awesome.
I was behind. I watched it 3 times. I'm going to watch it again when the show is over. I love Steve Austin. I love The Rock. I love Ric Flair. But on this day, this promo, I was convinced that Mr. McMahon is the greatest character in the history of wrestling. He's the best.
He was unbelievable.
What character, I'm not saying like wrestler, overall performer, what character in wrestling history is better than Mr. McMahon? One does not exist.
Oh.
It does not exist.
As far as Vince is concerned, he is 100% innocent, and he is 100% a victim. He cannot believe the cruel hand of fate has put Steve Austin into his life, and all the terrible things that have happened ever since.
Like, listen, Steve Austin was the biggest star of the 90s, one of the biggest stars in all of wrestling, and he would have been awesome with or without McMahon. But there is no way he would have been as awesome without Vince McMahon. Vince was the absolute perfect foil for Steve Austin. Nobody would have been better. What goofy heel do they have on the roster that could have been a better foil for Steve Austin? One does not exist. Vince McMahon is the greatest of all time. Best character ever. God, this promo was so great.
We had Val Venus versus Ken Shamrock in the tournament match. So they're doing this match. They're wrestling, and they're going back and forth, and Val makes a comeback, and then Ken makes a comeback, and it's slap in the face. Is there a babyface here? Who am I supposed to be cheering for?
Well, here's the thing. So we thought Ken Shamrock turned heel, but in this match, Jim Ross goes, Shamrock has been getting a smattering of boos. Like, he's still a babyface, but people are turning on him.
I guess.
So apparently he did not do a hard turn, as they call it. This was a soft turn that he did the pay-per-view or whatever. I'm pretty sure he's supposed to still kind of be a babyface, but he's definitely turning heel.
But Val Venus, at the same time...
Oh, Val's a babyface.
Is he?
He's 100% a babyface.
Are we sure about this,
Yep.
Vinny?
I'm not.
In the 90s?
No.
Yeah, he's a babyface.
So, well...
okay, so who's he feuding with? He's feuding with Goldust. You're telling me
Right.
Goldust is a babyface?
No.
Goldust is definitely a
I'm
heel.
saying neither of them are.
Well...
And neither is Shamrock. Shamrock, in the opening match in this tournament, attacked a guy after he'd beaten him because some other guy beat him up.
in the 90s, in WWF, a heel that is a porn star that stole another heel's wife and is getting hand jobs backstage at every show. Trust me, the dude's a babyface.
So
Val
if
Venus,
you steal somebody's wife,
did I not just say
you're a
in the
babyface.
90s in WWF?
okay.
That's a
It is-
babyface thing.
I was watching this, and it occurred to me, every single person on Raw in 1998 is a total asshole.
Yes.
Shamrock attacked Val in this match before they got to the ring.
Yeah, Shamrock's definitely turning heel.
So anyway, the funniest thing, funny thing. Shamrock hooks was it a knee bar? He hooks a leg hold. It was the ankle lock. Hooks the ankle lock, and Val just taps out clean.
Yeah.
Clean submission tap outs were still very strange to see in
Well,
1998.
they get this goddamn tournament over with.
I guess so. So Shamrock wins. Goldust come out as his whole entrance. Val can't. Okay. This goes to Brian's point about Goldust not being a babyface. Val can't even stand. He is helpless. Terry's there, a tiny little woman. She, of course, is no good in a fight against Goldust. Not that anyone wanted to see that fight. So she leaves. Goldust beats up the already beaten and injured Val, hangs him in the ropes, and kicks him right in the balls. Everyone on the show sucks.
Well, Val's a babyface. I can tell you that much. In this weird universe.
There is one guy who has figured out that everyone else on the show is an asshole. When everyone else zigs, I'm going to zag, and that's going to get me over. That's Mankind. Vince and his crew are looking over the ruined car, and Mankind arrives.
The car is completely covered in cement.
Yes, it is filled to the brim. It is poured out all over the sides. You know what, actually, in all seriousness, how much, I mean, the car is ruined. That's a total loss. How much did they have to pay the arena to clean this up?
Probably plenty.
That couldn't have been cheap either.
Sergeant Slaughter looks at Vince and he says, "Your briefcase is still in there." And they're all trying to figure out what to do. And Briscoe says, "We could get a shovel, Mr. McMahon." That's his plan.
Yeah.
Let's get a shovel.
And Foley arrives and says, "Oh, I'm sure we can salvage something." First of all, he's trying to shine a light on the whole thing. He's trying to put a positive spin on it. We can salvage something. He starts digging through the cement with his bare hands.
To get the keys.
To get the keys.
Which, what the hell are you going to do with the keys?
Well, you can unlock the door.
I guess.
It's a convertible.
So, I'm sure this was ad-libbed, but I guess he found the keys, but they're having a conversation about what he had found as they went to break. Rock cut a promo when they came back. Rundowns Taker, Kane, and Austin. D'Lo and Henry interrupt, and they want to know, why are you not teaming with us? And I thought, it's not his fault. Vince booked the match. He didn't ask for anything. Rock tells them to know their role. We can go talk about it outside. And they did. Mankind versus X-Pac in an Intercontinental match. Mankind's out there with bits of cement on his gear and body.
So can we confirm after this match that in fact Ken Shamrock is a heel? As he whacks poor Mankind in the leg with a chair as both guys are brawling outside the ring?
That did happen, yes.
I thought it 2 weeks ago. So yes, we can.
So yeah, Shamrock is a heel. He attacks Foley in the leg with a chair. X-Pac hits a schoolboy for the win. And then Shamrock starts destroying X-Pac and working over his neck. So they go to break. They come back. X-Pac's still down. Triple H is out there on crutches. They both insist the match go on, and so it's Ken Shamrock versus X-Pac in the tournament final.
Hear X-Pac yell the F word as loud as possible with the camera right in his face.
My favorite.
I believe you. I don't.
It was right when he goes, "Ring the goddamn bell."
Yep.
My favorite part of this is they have Triple H on crutches out there for commentary, and Shamrock, they go back and forth. It's fine, and finally X-Pac makes his comeback. Shamrock puts him in the ankle lock. X-Pac starts fighting for the ropes. Shamrock pulls him back to the middle. X-Pac will not give up. He continues to fight to the ropes. He's crawling. Triple H says, "One thing I know, this man will never quit." Shamrock yanks him back to the middle. He quits. Hunter's like, "Damn it."
That is how it went down.
Damn it. I also loved X-Pac as loud as he could, yelling at the ref to tell him to yank him back to the middle of the ring. Totally rushed tournament. Not horrible, and the winner won clean.
The winner won decisively.
So I'm a fan of clean wins
in the end,
tournaments.
3 wins in this match, and they were all decisive. There was no bullshit involved. He just won. So he's the Intercontinental Champion. As soon as the bell rings, Mankind goes out there with a chair to protect X-Pac, but Shamrock now, he's won. For Shamrock, the battle is won. He doesn't need to fight anymore. So he goes away. And the gimmick is on Heat, Hunter will have to present the title personally to Ken Shamrock.
Oh, but that goes off well. What a great idea. May as well have Austin raise the hand of the winner on Sunday. Sure, that's going to go well.
Undertaker and Kane versus Steve Austin and The Rock. In 1998, it was just, hey, let's put the main event guys in a tag match. You read those 4 names in 2017, it's like, how did that not main event WrestleMania?
Yeah.
What an insane match. Paul Bearer comes out about a minute in. Ross says he is allegedly Kane's father, but he had not seen a DNA test.
What the hell did he come out for?
Well, I don't know, but my point
end of the day, my point is, at the end of the day, he was here the whole show with a briefcase, came out here at the end, and like the show's over now, and I have no idea why he was there.
Maybe they ran out of time.
I want to know, why did Jim Ross forget that he did do a DNA test? We all saw it.
Yep, that's right.
Ross is completely forgotten.
I do not blame Jim Ross or anybody for forgetting anything with this stupid Undertaker Kane storyline.
It is a spot I remembered clear as day 20 years later. Rock is about to do the people's elbow. Taker does the zombie sit-up mid-move. Rock just kicks him back down and hits the elbow anyway. It's great. Taker cut him off with a chokeslam. The greatest chokeslam of all time was one Taker gave to Brock in their feud in like 2003 or whenever that was, when Brock jumped so high, Taker almost lost him. This was the second best chokeslam of all time. Rock got so high for this one. They're beating on Rock. Mark Henry and D'Lo are out there too. Finally, Austin gets the hot tag. He's making his comeback, and Henry and D'Lo begin to attack The Rock. What's going on? What happened?
Well, we do know that The Rock is facing Henry on Sunday.
I see.
And they're mad that he's teaming with Austin, even though Vince commanded it.
Yes.
And Rock has been belittling them and telling them to know their role. They finally snapped. That's what I got out of this.
I see.
Well, they need a leader. Farouk left them, and now The Rock is leaving them.
Well, they left Rock.
Yeah, they don't know The Rock's leaving them.
He's kind of a dick.
Which, by the way, why is Rock facing Mark Henry?
Oh, I didn't know that until you told me.
Yeah, they explained it, but I don't know why.
I don't either. I can't think of a good reason. For the record, with all these Hall of Famers out there, the crowd was chanting D'Lo sucked. So there's a big fight going on, and then the masked security guard runs in, attacks Austin for the DQ, immediately unmasks to reveal the big boss man. And Vince and his crew are getting their jollies laughing from the stage. Beating goes on for a while. Taker has Austin in a knee bar for a long time, and then the show ends. And it's time for Extra Attitude, which was the least sucky Extra Attitude they have seen.
Yep.
So Taker and Kane leave. Boston is choking out Austin. He leaves. Vince figures Austin is dead. He wheels himself down to the ring, orders the Stooges to, quote, put the boots to him, which I love that expression. He also says, Sarge, do you want a shot? And Sarge declined politely, which is funny. So Austin makes a comeback, and it's Jerry Briscoe and Pat Patterson bumping for Steve Austin, so it is golden. He stuns them both. Rock returns, he hits a double people's elbow. Vince tries to flee. I like to think this was not planned.
No, there's no way it was planned.
Vince goes to flee, but he's got the motorized wheelchair, and there's like the little lip on the ramp, so it's not strong enough to go up over the lip and get onto the ramp.
My only thought was the battery had actually died.
That's also possible too. But he's pushing forward, it won't go. So Austin just comes out, grabs the chair, and dumps it backwards. Eventually, they get Vince up there. He looks like he wants to cry. Austin leaves. They put Vince back in his chair. He falls out several times. Every time he calls the Stooges a son of a bitch. Finally, they have to help him walk up the ramp. And the subtle genius in all this is Patterson and Briscoe helping Vince walk up the ramp. Vince is on the verge of tears. And they've left the wheelchair behind, but due to the damage to the rectal area, Pat Patterson has remembered to bring the hemorrhoid pillow. This was funny.
I didn't see any of it.
Yeah, we were watching up here with you, and it just went off.
It just ended. It's like it was in the middle of Extra Attitude, and then it said, in 5 seconds, the next Raw.
And you were fine with this.
And I was like, all right, whatever. I don't know why it did that. But anyway. So according to Wikipedia here, this In Your House Judgment Day on October 18, 1998, they have a background here which explains all of the feuds. Nowhere here does it explain why Rock is facing Mark Henry. But I will read what happened in the match. This from Wikipedia. Despite being introduced together with D'Lo Brown, Mark Henry entered the ring on his own and dedicated a poem to China. The Rock's dynamic opening attacks proved too much for Henry, and even managed to suplex the super heavyweight. However, on the outside of the ring, Henry used his weight to push Rock against the ring and then slam him against the broadcast table. Henry further used his weight by leaning on the Rock, choking him against the middle rope, and keeping the match's pace at a slower rate. After blocking a series of punches and then returning them, Rock scoop slammed Henry into the ground, sounds serious, to perform the people's elbow. However, D'Lo Brown ran to ringside, and as Rock punched him, Henry caught Rock from behind and pinned him with a big splash, with Brown leaning in the ring to hold down his feet, stopping him from kicking out of the pin. So prior to Rock winning the world title, he did a job on a random In Your House in a random match to Mark Henry. How stupid. And that was the semi-main event. That went on second to last. 5 minutes and 6 seconds.
Well, Nitro.
Boy.
Listen, can somebody tell me why Rock and Mark Henry had a match?
No.
I need to know.
There's no answer.
I'm asking the listeners, Vinny, not you.
I'm answering the question for you. No, there is no answer.
I'm sure there's an answer.
Since we're going into Nitro.
It was signed.
This first hour of Nitro.
The most useless hour of television I've ever seen.
The worst.
What are you talking about? It's had an all-time classic match in the first hour.
You must have watched the wrong show.
Oh, no.
Perhaps you watched the 1997 show.
I watched the right show, all right.
Well, let's begin. First of all, Eric Bischoff is backstage ordering security not to let Ric Flair into the building.
Exact opposite of Vince and Austin. He did not tell them to leave the door open.
So they showed the aftermath of the terribly lame brawl between Bret Hart and Sting last week. You will recall that brawl ended when the combatants got bored and walked away from each other. So here we are. They recap what they could find of the best parts, and then afterwards, they're trying to get Sting onto a stretcher. What? Why?
He walked away.
Not to mention, he comes out just fine this week. This was so stupid.
This is also stupid. After this, they go to commercial. They come back. They play clips of that incredibly lame brawl. Then Bret is on Thunder, challenging Sting for Halloween Havoc. Then we get a Hogan Hart Sting video package recapping everything we just already saw. Go to commercial. We have clips of WCW stars appearing on Wall Street. The best part of which is they just happened to use the Hardy Boys theme song.
Yep.
Now I know it was just random generic stock music. They grabbed and stuck with the Hardys, so they, WCW grabbed the same place. But I'm watching this whole time, this whole clip. I'm just waiting for Jeff to senton off something,
or Matt to come in and scream delete.
Yes. Sadly, none of that happened.
It was 13 minutes of recaps and videos.
Yeah.
Before we finally got a match.
I'm not detailing them. After the Wall Street stuff, we are now 9 minutes into the show. Now the opening credits roll. We then have clips of Mang attacking Chris Adams on Thunder, and Wrath comes out.
Why the fuck would you need clips of that?
I don't know.
I mean, seriously.
I don't know.
I love Ming. Why do we need clips of that?
I guess to explain what happened shortly here. Mm-hmm. So Wrath comes out, has a brawl with Meng. It's ugly, but kind of ugly in a good way because it's a fight. Then they go to commercial. Then they come back and get a match. As Brian noted, it is 13 minutes into the show when the bell rings for the opening match. And that opening match is Wrath versus Lodi, which the closing bell rings 14 minutes into the show.
Yep.
Meltdown finish, baby.
I melted down. So Wrath wins. Meng comes out on stage. They stare at each other from a distance. They meet in the aisle and start to brawl. It's the first interesting thing that has happened on the show. Two big, scary monsters trying to kill each other. And Tony says, well, let's cut away to show clips of Eric Bischoff talking. And they cut away.
They literally were in the middle. It had just started.
Yeah.
The undefeated Wrath versus the unstoppable monster Meng. They start this wild brawl in the aisle. And when Tony said, let's go to a recap.
They're throwing punches.
After 13 fucking minutes of recaps and a 1 minute match, they threw to another recap. I was furious.
So the recap is Bischoff and the Horsemen last week. They go to commercial. They come back. Let's do a video package. It's Goldberg Page video package. In all seriousness, were they deliberately attempting to chase people to Raw? Was this their goal?
Which was a taped show.
The only good thing about this...
Well, keep in mind, this was an unopposed hour, I believe, so...
Maybe they were chasing them to the dog show or the news. I don't know. They could not possibly expect people to stay tuned to TNT to watch this. Now, I will say this. In this Goldberg Page video package, when they showed Goldberg taking out Lodi with a paw to the head in slow motion, that was worth it. Now, Brian, I'm assuming when you talk about the all-time classic match, because there's only one other match in the first hour, you must be referring to Kendall Windham versus Dale Torborg.
Sure am, dude. Dale Torborg,
the demon,
was a member of
not yet.
WCW pit crew.
Yeah.
And so they put him in the pit crew outfit. They announced he's been training at the power plant.
Worst advertisement for the power plant ever.
Listen, dude, like, I know what the power plant was. I've made fun of it now for 19 years. But goddamn, watching this match. Like, they didn't do a fucking thing at that power plant except make these guys just do calisthenics. And, like, it's just mind-blowing. Like, do you know who else came out of the power plant? Goldberg.
Yeah.
What?
I don't know.
How the fuck did they even get one guy out of that power plant?
I don't know.
So this fucking match is just... Let me tell you how bad this match is. It's not Barry Windham. It's Kendall Windham.
Right.
Smaller, younger brother.
However,
Shittier.
he looked like Barry Windham
Yes.
in his attempts to carry Dale Torborg through this match.
If you've been paying attention to this show and the Sunday night show over the past month or so, I've had a lot of very, very bad things to say about Kendall Windham.
Oh,
and
my
I take
God.
back none of them. But he was so many head and shoulders, arms,
Dude.
legs, and feet above Dale Torborg.
He was trying so hard to have a -4-star match instead of a -5-star match with this fucking guy. Fans are chanting boring.
Which, by the way, how could you put Kendall Windham and Dale Torborg on TV and not think people are going to chant boring?
Fuck if I know. And so finally, like, I'd been told about this match. Like, all day Sunday, I'd have people texting me on Observer Live who'd watched this match. And they all mentioned that at the end of the match, Dale Torborg blows out his knee and he still gets the win. Okay? So it's time to watch it. And how did Dale Torborg blow out his damn knee?
Running.
He just jumped and did a kick.
He did the bicycle kick like
And then
Sheamus.
fell down and grabbed his knee. And yes, he covered Kendall Windham. The ref counts 2. Kendall kicks out. The ref counts 3. Kendall gets up furious. I don't know why. Like, he wanted this to go longer. He does the most ridiculous kick of the bottom rope in Fury you've ever seen.
Yes.
He basically mocks the guy as he's there with a torn ACL or whatever. Like, this is your winner to the fans. Walks away. This was fucking just abysmal. It was abysmal.
Just, in all seriousness, one of the very worst wrestling matches I ever saw.
How in
Like,
the
it was
Think of
mere-
that.
It was merely horrible until the end. And the end, when a guy blew out his knee doing his own finish, it's like it was a non-contact injury. He's jumping him down on his leg.
It was, it was like Sid when he did that move, except obviously Sid was 100 times worse.
Yes, because
Sid at least came off the middle rope.
That's true.
yeah.
This guy just jumped in the air. I mean, who put this on TV?
Well, they were live.
Fuck 'em.
Even before,
That's what I gotta say.
even before the finish, I was asking how the hell they allowed Dale Torborg to go on TV.
Hell if I know. Hell if I know.
We're still in the first hour, everyone. We get Nitro Party clips.
Dude, we were 30 minutes in.
So they're doing the Nitro Party, and it's, everyone's dressing up and posing, and they've got the show on and playing video games. And then they start doing entrances in which they have pyro on their own porch.
Yes, they did.
Were these Nimrods trying to burn their house down? Was that the goal? Time for more clips. The Goldberg, Page, Flock angle from last week. Sting comes out for a promo.
Oh my God.
He is now the Cesar Romero Joker. He's growing out a mustache, but still covering it with face paint.
So you know how Warrior has been doing all these backstage segments because they figured out that like people are turning on him, so they're trying to hide him backstage. Finally this week they just decided, fuck. I mean, he's got to go out of there one of these days. Who cares now? They send this guy out, and he has one job. You can ask Sting if you can be his partner tonight in a match with Hogan and Bret Hart. Fucking Warrior cuts a totally modern, scripted, wacky WWE
It was,
promo.
actually, yeah.
As you know, he says, I swear to God he said this. I wrote this down. This is one of his rambling lines. As you know, I have an ongoing battle with Hulk Hogan set to culminate at Halloween Havoc. He fucking said that. I couldn't even write anything else down. I was dying just writing that line down. People are just booing this guy like crazy. Every time he says some witty line, he pauses for the cheers. Mm-hmm. Instead, it's just droning boos. This was so embarrassing.
So the upshot is,
Oh, please tell me.
well,
I must hear the upshot.
that may be the wrong phrase. The takeaway of this is,
The upshot is it's almost over.
yeah, Sting had called out Hogan and Bret. Warrior says, "I want to be your partner." Then he leaves, and Sting also leaves. There was no confirmation of anything here.
Right.
Hey, time to really fire things up. Let's air a Goldberg Page video package.
Well, the upshot is we're finally in hour 2.
Mike Tenay gives a history lesson to everyone about how Warrior and Sting had not teamed in 12 years. Time for some talking.
Oh, my God.
Bischoff,
Hogan, and the Giant. So for those of you that have not been paying attention to this show, as we've noted, Giant is about to leave. He's about to go to WWE. And there had been all of these rumors that he was leaving. So they got him here tonight. I don't know how they got him here tonight. I guess he's still under contract. So they bring him out, and the announcers make a big point that, oh, look who's here. It's the Giant. Please keep all of this in mind as we journey through this show, that the Giant is back here tonight. On his way out.
By the way, what belt does he have?
Tag.
Oh, that's right.
What?
Fuck if I know.
I don't know how you knew.
I looked at it.
Is it Giant and Hall?
I don't know who his partner is, but I recognize it's the tag belt.
The and there's bigger problems WCW had, but the complete evaporation of the tag team division in the past year. And it was so good for a while, and now it's just everyone broke up. So Bischoff, Hogan, and Giant come out for a promo. Hogan says Giant's going to end Goldberg's winning streak tonight. And then he took a long time to say, I accept the challenge on behalf of Bret Hart to face Sting and Warrior tonight.
Calls himself Wood again.
Yep.
What is up with that?
He's Hollywood. He's Wood, baby.
He thought he was cool. Rarely has someone been so wrong about thinking they were cool.
Well, it's kind of disturbing when he's talking about partying with the Nitro Girls, and the Nitro Girls are partying with Wood.
You're not wrong. So as they're... Oh.
He didn't even think about this before he said it?
I'm sure he did.
Okay.
I'm sure he wanted you to know that the Nitro Girls were partying with his Wood.
It's not what he said, Brian.
I know, but that's what he's trying to... It's just stupid.
Should call it Littlewood.
This sucks.
So as they're leaving, someone tells Bischoff that the Horsemen are here. Bischoff goes running back to confront them. After he gets outstage, then a limousine pulls up, which indicates Bischoff must have had somebody on top of the building with binoculars checking for limos.
Yeah, exactly like on Raw. He had an outlook.
So the limo shows up. It is, in fact, Ric Flair. They shout at each other for a while.
And then we got the second best promo on the show behind a goddamn doll, Bruce MacArthur.
The owner of the building.
Owner of the Blackhawks.
I see.
Which I guess his parents own the building.
Okay.
That's what I pieced together here. Yeah.
So he announces, I have a personal suite. The Horsemen are my guests tonight. You cannot stop us from going into our suite and watching the show.
Eric's argument was, I leased the building. I now own it.
Right. That was his claim.
And Bruce MacArthur's argument was, I own the fucking building. I own it.
Yes.
Eric didn't have a leg to stand on.
No.
But he was as big a dick as possible.
So Bruce MacArthur explains he has a personal skybox full of beautiful women and champagne.
10 to be exact.
And the Horsemen are headed in. Bischoff's ranting. I think security, there were 2 or 3 guys who were not smartened up. And they actually explained, this really is your boss. You really should let him go. And finally, they're all going in, and Bischoff's yelling at them. And I know it's 2017, and all the Benoit stuff is awkward. But when Chris Benoit turned to Eric Bischoff and said, talk to the hand.
Yes.
I laughed.
Yeah, how could you not? That was a saying at one point.
I know, but I guarantee you, even in 98, it would have been awkward for Benoit. Time for a Warrior Hogan hype video. And it did occur to me, to be fair, as sick as I was of all of these by now, been watching WCW for like all of 1998 now, and usually the pay-per-view comes and I maybe know the main event and nothing else is happening. And like off the top of my head, I can tell you the top 4 or 5 matches of Halloween Havoc for sure. So hey, credits to them.
So much money on Warrior that they were like, we got to make money on this pay-per-view. And to their credit, they were trying.
They have tried. You're getting Warrior Hogan.
It's not their fault Warrior was such a flop.
You're getting Goldberg Page. You're getting Nash and Hall. There's one other I'd forgotten by now. Oh,
although actually,
Bret and Sting.
The mirror was their fault, which we saw a recap of.
Oh, we'll get to that. Oh, it's right here. Yeah, clips of Warrior's goofy promo, and then the mirror bit. The amazing thing to me, it's not that they re-aired the mirror bit, but they re-aired the announcer saying, hey, we see Warrior in the mirror.
That was a faux pas.
They could have edited that out easily.
Absolutely.
But no, we're reminded that we can all see the Warrior except Eric Bischoff. So he's the crazy one.
Or he's blind.
One of the two. Fit Finlay versus Alex Wright.
It's the best Alex Wright match.
Oh my
I've ever
God.
seen.
This is the best 2-minute match of all time.
Alex Wright's coming down to the ring. And they show a replay of last week where they went to a draw. And then they announced on Saturday night they went to a double countout. Alex Wright's coming down to the ring. I thought, man, third match here on Nitro. Finally something that fucking makes sense. Instead, it's Finlay. What?
I was fine with this, by the way.
I mean, it was a good match, but why in the world would you do a draw on Monday and a count out on Saturday and then just come back with a totally different match?
That's a great question.
I mean, maybe they're at the pay-per-view. I don't know. Like anyone's going to pay for that third match after those first two finishes?
So they have an awesome 2-minute match because Finlay forced Alex to match his intensity. And finally, Alex necks him on the top rope, hits a schoolboy, gets his feet on the ropes for the pin. Now, before the match, Alex explained he wanted to prove he was Europe's best wrestler. So he had beaten Norman Smiley, he had beaten British Bulldog, and now he's going to beat Finlay. So he did. But then Bulldog came out. For a brief minute, Bulldog and Finlay double-teamed Wright. And then Finlay dropped Bulldog with a cheap shot and left.
What a dick. That's all I could think.
La Parca and Ciclope and Viano 5
this match
versus Super Calo and Psychosis and Chavo Guerrero Jr.
Now,
is it 5 or 4?
I wrote 5. Oh, 4 got his neck hurt, didn't he?
I can't remember who got their neck hurt, but 4. He had 4 on his trunks.
Oh, maybe I got it wrong. It was a Viano.
Sure, yeah.
So I've always been told in Lucha Libre, if one man exits the ring, the other one of his partners can jump in at any time without a tag.
Don't even try.
Listen, if you're a fan of logic-based, rule-enforced tag team wrestling, this is not the match for you.
Because one man would go for a pin, and then his partner would come in and break up the pin, and then take over on offense.
Over and over and over again.
It's whatever they want.
Just let them do their thing.
Haven't we figured that out yet?
Just let them do their thing. Listen, like I said, if you were a fan of following rules to the letter and building up a hot tag and...
hey, you know what? I am one of those people. I still love this match.
Fair point.
This match was great.
It was all action, nonstop.
The best part of this match is
there's a lot of them.
They're getting ready for a train wreck spot to the outside, and La Parca is on the apron.
Oh, yes.
And somebody was supposed to knock him off the apron, but they forgot. So La Parca, being a professional, he doesn't skip a beat. He struts, he slips, he falls off the apron.
Yes.
And they go right to the spot.
Yes.
I was like, this guy is the best.
So they're flying everywhere. The announcers totally give up on trying to remember who's on whose team. I don't blame them. I lost track. They were doing these three-way spots, and I was trying to figure out why guys were attacking their own partner, and then I realized, no, they're not partners. But as action, it was all really cool. The craziest thing was Psychosis doing a senton, not like a flip senton like Jeff Hardy, just jump out and throw your feet out in front of you, senton, from the top rope to the floor. Don't do that, everyone. It's bad for you.
Oh, my gosh.
And Eddie and the LWO come out. I'm thinking, oh, God, this has been so fun, and we're not even going to finish. And then Chavo pins Ciclope with a tornado DDT. And Larry said, one of the teams won.
Well,
he was right.
He was right.
He was right.
Chavo was a little out of his element. He literally barely worked in Mexico at all before he signed with WCW.
Yeah.
So the idea that like Chavo's a luchador,
a stretch.
He's an American-style wrestler from a luchador family, but he tried. He was in there trying and wasn't a disaster, but yeah.
I know we talked about this last week, but Super Calo, the fact that the man is not in a wheelchair right now,
dude,
is
he's
amazing.
Still wrestling.
That's crazy.
He took a bump, like the very first move. He took like a lariat and landed on his head.
Yeah.
Out of his mind.
There was a million things going on here. I do want to note, just because he's awesome, Ciclope, who is better known as Halloween, the bump he took where he went for a drop kick and the guy moved and he went flying through the ropes to the floor, but it was totally safe.
Yeah.
It was to set up Psychosis' crazy move.
Right.
But yeah, Halloween was great. I just want to mention that. So Eddie and his crew come out and make peace, and Eddie cuts his promo. He says Bischoff is taking advantage of the economical situation at home. He's paying them peanuts. He should say we should all fight together instead of being forced to fight each other. Only then can we get what we deserve. Psychosis accepts the t-shirt. Everyone else is outside kind of on the fence, and Chavo just takes his horse and leaves.
rode off into the sunset.
I guess.
Gives a shit. This angle sucks.
Match was
Speaking of angles that suck, what in the fuck's going on?
I don't have any idea.
Okay, let me go back a little bit, all right? Buff Bagwell legit breaks his neck.
Right.
Okay. Buff Bagwell comes back after his injury. He's like the biggest babyface in the company.
Right.
As a swerve, they turn the guy heel. Now they're just going to turn him babyface again?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
What?
They clearly have no idea what they're doing.
What?
So Scott Steiner comes out, runs down the local sports ball team, gets out his Big Papa Pump is your hookup, holla if you hear me, I think for the first time.
Mm-hmm. Second time, it was last week.
I'm mistaken. Starts talking about Marcus Bagwell and his mom. And says, you can be Marcus around your mom, but when you're buff and you're with me, when you're in my world, I am the stuff, he says. So he's jealous of the attention that Buff is paying to his mother. Out come the Bagwells, and I'm certain this is going to be some kind of swerve where Mama gets embarrassed and humiliated, but no. Scott starts insulting her, says Buff is soft.
By the way, Mama Bagwell, like last week, she was great. This week, she comes out here and she knows she's a star.
Yes.
She's fucking smiling. She's not selling anything.
No, she got in Scott's face.
Oh my God. I've never seen something go so off the rails so fast.
It was 1 week.
1 week?
the inflation rate of her head.
Oh.
So
it's mostly in her wig.
I guess so. So first, Scott says, if you're soft, you should take the NWO shirt off. And they go back and forth. And then Mama gets in Scott's face, and Scott says, where is this here? Says she's an old bag. Marcus needs to get her out of the ring right now or he'll put her on the mat. Bagwell instead punches him, but Steiner hits a low blow and drops his bad neck across the ropes, threatens to beat up the whole Bagwell family, challenges the entire city of Chicago, and that's where it leaves. And remember I started talking, I remembered the Rock Undertaker spot vividly. I have zero memory of Buff Bagwell coming back, teasing a babyface turn, being a heel, and then actually doing a babyface turn. I have no idea where this goes next.
Well, it's possible that he doesn't turn.
But
like
he already has.
I don't know. I didn't remember this either.
This sucks.
It's hideous.
Can we all agree that it sucks?
Absolutely
Okay.
atrocious television.
She's the worst. She's got heat with me.
I'm sure she's brokenhearted.
She's someone's mother, Craig.
I understand that.
Buffs.
Well, she must be proud of her boy doing porn.
Well, there's more. Juventud Guerrera versus Prince Iaukea. Before they start, Disco comes out and says nobody wants to see this match. They want to see me dance.
They were right. Disco was right here.
Well, he did start to dance, and Iaukea knocked him off the apron, and everyone booed. So the match starts, and Kidman's out there with a chair stalking Disco, and this goes on for a while. So no one cares about it. If anyone had cared about the match, they're not going to now. So they leave, and then a minute later, Disco's back in the aisle, but he's like trying to stay off camera, but the announcers are calling attention to him. This is also stupid. Hoovy goes up top. Disco pushes him off. Iaukea hits Disco. Hoovy hits the Hoovy driver for the win. Kidman and Disco are brawling again. This segment sucked.
You know what this segment did? It sucked.
It did.
And you know what else sucked? The next segment.
It did. We were
okay,
on quite a roll.
am I imagining things, or was Hall a drunk for like a full month? And then, like 2 weeks ago, it was suddenly revealed that he'd either cleaned up or he was never drunk in the first place. It was like a work.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Fucking guy comes out this week. Well, first,
Well, he was drunk. It wasn't last week the bar, the
Yeah.
pub crawl. So he's drunk then too.
I guess he was drunk then. Yeah. So what happened 2 weeks ago where he was sober?
They changed their minds.
Well, he comes out here and he's drunk.
Heck of a bender.
And here's what happens. I just got to recap this.
He came out with a drink, by the way, just to make sure we all knew he was drunk.
Nash comes out and says, I'm gonna get you out here, Hall, by saying your favorite 2 words, last call, or whatever. Hall comes out drinking, gives Nash a crotch chop. Nash proceeds to start running.
Kinda.
Nash runs up the ramp, and the cameras follow him backstage. Now keep in mind, the distance between Hall and Nash was the ramp. Mm-hmm. That's not that far.
No.
Right? Nash starts running up the ramp. He goes backstage. He's running around in the back. It's so bad. Screaming for Drunk Boy. So he's calling him. Where are you, Drunk Boy? The announcers claim that they have never seen Kevin Nash so mad. He keeps trying to run. It's so sad. Every now and then he just stops. walks a few feet
for miles,
and starts running again.
Kevin Nash played college basketball, and I promise you he never ran as much in a game as he did in the segment.
No. So keep in mind, Hall was a ramp away from the guy. Nash runs through the curtain. Now Hall has vanished. He has completely disappeared. The announcers on the show have just completely given up, by the way. It gets better later, but Nash is just running and there's no one there. And Tony Schiavone says, Hall may have jumped into a trash can or something.
Yeah.
Like a fucking trash can?
Well, that's where drunks hang out.
So he keeps running.
Oh, God.
And Nash has been running the whole time.
Sure.
Minutes.
And he finally runs into the backstage area. And all the way, literally all the way up on the way out, you see a limo.
Yes.
And Hall sticks his head out.
I guess.
And I'm like,
some guy.
This fucking guy must have run 50 miles an hour through the backstage area to get in that thing. The limo starts to leave, and suddenly Nash is following him in a Cadillac.
Well,
instantly.
I'm like, did I get abducted by aliens? Is this lost time?
Let's recap. To be fair, Nash disappeared because last time we saw him, he was walking.
Well, he had to.
He was done. He was walking. He walks off camera, and 5 seconds later, there's a Cadillac 50 yards away, and we are told Nash is in it.
Dude. And then the best part is Mike Tenay is he so badly wants to follow them, and Schiavone just will not allow it.
My favorite part.
I was so furious after last week that they did not allow Mike Tenay to follow them in his car. Damn it.
My favorite part, besides that Kevin Nash can apparently teleport like Katrina when he wants to.
Both of them.
And Hall, yeah. So, okay. We are to believe that Kevin Nash is so angry at Scott Hall that he's going to attempt a vehicular pursuit.
Yeah.
Okay. The limo's on the ramp. Oh. A head that we are told is Scott Hall's is hanging at the end. Here comes this Cadillac. It comes up to the limo, and the limo don't go nowhere. So whoever's driving the caddy has to swerve to the right and then swerve to the left.
But there's a car on the ramp.
There's a parked car on the one side. So he can't actually, because what are you going to do if you catch him anyway, genius? And I found out the answer is nothing.
Yeah, we did find that out because we never found out what happened in this chase.
Well, he caught him. He caught him right here, but didn't know what to do.
Well, I mean, but later. They just zoomed off. They may still be driving around.
But what if he catches him? What's he going to do? The same thing.
He's gonna punch him.
No, he could punch him here. He had ample opportunity to get out of this car and start punching.
Nash would have got out of the car and the limo would have
no,
took off.
Vinny. It was a trap. If he would have gotten out of the car, the limo would have zoomed off.
Right.
He knew it.
Well, also happened here eventually. So what's it going to stop him from?
I fucking have no idea.
This sucked, everyone.
Maybe he was going to get a knife again.
We needed
last
Mike
weekend.
Tenay on the case.
Slice
in
those
his
tires.
Tercel.
This was bad.
Where are we?
But it was hilarious.
Jericho and
Jericho and Raven.
So remember earlier, Fit Finley and Alex Wright had a fantastic 2-minute match. Mm-hmm. Chris Jericho and Raven had a great 3-minute match. I went back and checked because sometimes it seems shorter than it is. This was actually 3 minutes, and it was a great 3 minutes. The best part is when it's Raven's rules, so no DQ. So Jericho goes to grab a chair, but it's caught up in cables, and so he shakes it and yanks in the cables and shakes it and yanks in the cables, and he gives up and throws away the ring announcer and grabs that chair instead. So they're.
But the second chair was also wrapped in the cable.
Oh, not as well, apparently, because he got it in the ring. So Raven tries the DDT. Jericho turns it into the Boston Crab, gets a submission win. And I was thinking, why didn't they get more time? Oh, if I only knew.
Well, I should mention, by the way, that they have a 3-minute match, and Raven goes for the DDT. Jericho sweeps his legs and just submits the guy. The guy just taps out. Mm-hmm. And, Jericho's the champion, the TV champion or whatever he is now. And, Jericho's been the Cruiserweight champion multiple times, the TV champion. I know they always talk about how Jericho was underutilized in WCW. And to be fair, he was never a main event guy. Never was a main event guy. But seriously, is there a more pushed undercard guy in the history of WCW than Chris Jericho? Name one. This guy was like a champion for 2 years straight.
Yeah.
He beat everybody. He was like the top guy that wasn't a top guy.
Yes, he was the top of the bottom guy.
Yeah, there were plenty of guys that things way the hell worse than he did here.
That's true.
And where's his security guards? That they introduced him at the pay-per-view.
Goldberg killed him.
Yeah, the Goldberg angle got turfed. so there's no need. I think Ralphus does come back. I think
Ralphus does come back.
They do come.
But,
One of them comes back.
I mean, Goldberg killed him last week. They're still in recovery.
Oh yeah, he literally killed them. That's right. Well, it's time. But for what turned out to be not even the worst segment in the show.
Not even close.
Mean Gene brings out Rick Steiner for a promo. Before Rick can finish one sentence, Chucky the doll appears on the big screen doing the evil cackle, and it's finally revealed who's been cackling for months. So Chucky, obviously this is a pre-taped promo.
Yes.
And
very much so.
Gene and Rick trying to time their dialogue with the delivery of the doll was such a complete fail. So Chucky's making fun of Rick. He's insulting Gene. Rick challenges the puppet to come out and fight him.
All you need to know about this, everybody, is as stupid as this sounds, whoever played the doll did such a good job.
Oh, it was Chucky.
And buried both Gene and Rick so thoroughly that it actually got over with the fans.
Kinda.
The fans cheered the doll. They booed the doll one time.
When he plugged his movie and they realized this whole thing has been for a movie plug.
When he plugged the movie, they booed. But then he got it back onto wrestling. He goes, Rick, do not mess with Scott because he's going to be the lead in my next movie. Mm-hmm. And he's going to kick your ass at the pay-per-view. This was not a disaster. This doll was a better promo than... I said the whole WWE roster. That's not fair. But probably 3/4.
I mean, this was, I forget his name now, but there's the actor who has played Chucky, and they've made a dozen movies, and as stupid and silly as the vast majority of them are, it's because they're kind of fun and he's a good performer. So yeah. That said, I was watching a grown man pick a fight with a doll, and I was watching this in the bedroom as Bridget was baking in the kitchen, and every time Bridget bakes something, she brings me a sample to make sure it's good, and I was so terrified she would walk into the middle of this and I'd have to explain what I was watching. Yes. This was cringeworthy. Speaking of cringeworthy things...
Brad Dourif.
Yes. That's his name.
Chucky.
He's done some other stuff too, but he's best known for Chucky. Speaking of cringeworthy things, DDP plugged a segment on QVC. Selling not jewelry, he said. Did you notice, by the way, that when he... The big tease at the end was that he grabbed the guy and pretended to give him a diamond cutter, but he actually did have the guy in a cravat. He could have sunk this in. They go to break, and here is where the show really... this has been a terrible show anyway, and here is where it nosedived to levels unseen.
Talking about the Bischoff segment?
Yes.
I enjoyed this.
It's everything that went in with it. They go to break, they come back, the crowd is still booing Chucky. The announcers talk for a while. They go to another commercial. And then they come back. Now Bischoff comes out for a promo. He calls out Dillinger and says, let's go to that luxury box. So Dillinger comes out. They walk through the crowd. I guess their plan was like climb up the wall and get into the luxury box. But they just disappear. So now we have to go to the announcers again. The announcers are up there just killing time. Minutes go by. Finally, we see Bischoff and Dillinger stepping out of an elevator. That's the hallway, Bobby Heenan explains. Security will not let Bischoff into the suite. The building owner guy comes out. They yell at each other for a while.
Bruce MacArthur.
I hated both of them.
The best promo on this show.
Yeah, exactly.
So Bischoff shoves him. Security swarms Bischoff.
Swarms.
For like 3 minutes, all we see is guys in blue shirts on top of what is allegedly Eric Bischoff.
That's right.
Nothing is happening. The announcers are trying to talk about how great it is. Bobby Heenan, there's like 10 seconds of silence, and Bobby says, is this great TV or what? Flair emerges so somebody entertaining can be on camera.
Mm-hmm. You gotta remember that in storyline, the announcers hate Eric Bischoff. Mm-hmm. And in real life, I'm pretty sure they hated Eric Bischoff.
Sure. Yes.
They were over the moon as Eric Bischoff is getting arrested and dragged literally throughout the bowels of the building.
They drag him.
Hogtied.
They hog-tie him, and they're carrying him and carrying him. They may have done more walking here than Kevin Nash did earlier running.
It's very possible.
And this whole time, I'm just thinking, Chris Jericho and Raven got 3 minutes. And they walk, and they walk, and they walk, and they go into an elevator, and the doors close. They don't open right back up again. So they go back to the announcers.
That was a classic WCW moment.
Way too many people in the elevator.
The elevator doors close, and that's the cue to cut away, but they don't cut away fast enough. Goddamn doors open again.
Yep.
Announcers are howling.
So they cut to the Horsemen who are partying in the booth. Ric Flair's being the most Ric Flair you ever saw. And I don't know. I don't know what this the building owner's personal life was like, but one of the beautiful women who was there just grabbed him and passionately kissed him right in the mouth, right there on TV. So I hope they were close.
Well, they were close.
They were very close here. So they go back to the announcers, who at this point just have no idea what to do. They begin to make jokes about jail.
Flair and MacArthur are out there celebrating, and Heenan says, "Man, looks like he's running for office." And there's a pause, and then he says, "He'll be impeached." And
Tony died.
Tony, he just absolutely died. Like, you don't see the announcers when he says he'll be impeached. You just hear Heenan say it, and then there's a long silence. And they finally cut back to the announcers, and Tony has recovered enough to begin speaking, but then he just completely loses it. He buries his head in his hands. He points at Bobby. They were having so much fun.
We then cut downstairs where Eric Bischoff and security are walking around. They walk in one direction. They turn around. They walk the other direction. They go back to the announcers. They fill more time. They go back downstairs where Eric Bischoff is placed into a cop car. The cop car begins to drive away. The tires squeal as they pull out of the parking lot. Apparently they were going after National Hall too. And finally it goes to commercial. This segment lasted 13 minutes.
They also showed
seems a little excessive.
They also showed a wide shot of the box, the suite from the crowd, and Flair. It's like he's in the crowd, but the crowd is below him, and he's just strutting back and forth. And it reminded me of the two judges on the Muppets.
Statler and Waldorf.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's just entertaining himself, and people are going nuts, and the owner gets up there, and it was a sight to behold.
Flair was having fun. I can verify.
Oh
that.
yeah, I'm sure there was actually alcohol in the suite.
Yes,
I would imagine.
There's no doubt in my mind. So yeah, 13 minutes devoted to Eric Bischoff going to the suite, failing to get them ejected, and getting arrested instead. Goldberg versus Giant.
Allow me. First off, the crowd is molten for this match.
Yeah.
Absolutely unbelievable heat, unlike anything else on this show. So very quickly, Giant gets body slammed by Goldberg. Stevie Ray runs in and hits him with a chair. For some reason, they note this is a no DQ match.
They did actually note it earlier as well.
All right. I don't know why. DDP hits the ring. He goes after Stevie. Giant hits the choke slam on Goldberg. He goes for the cover. DDP makes the save. The story here is, would Giant have beaten Goldberg had it not been for DDP?
DDP not only made the save, he dropped an elbow and in process dropped his whole body on top of the Giant.
So Giant goes to chokeslam Page. Goldberg spears him. Giant leaves. Giant gets counted out. Now listen to me. This was number 150. Now granted, these numbers are fake, but like they made a deal that this is the 150th win of Goldberg. They didn't give the guy a clean win over the Giant. This fucking guy is on his way to WWF. Let me repeat this. The Giant is on his way to the WWF, and they gave him a visual pinfall over fucking Goldberg. WWE should have paid them like $1 million to let this happen before they got the Giant. These fucking idiots did it for free. Because they're fucking idiots.
Yeah,
Nobody has gotten a visual pinfall over Goldberg. Wait, DDP. They had that one thing, right? Where DDP like did something or something weird happened.
He may have hit a cutter and
but still, that was to set up a pay-per-view with DDP who's staying.
Yeah. Staying.
These numbskulls, like Giant leaving is like not a mystery. And I just couldn't even believe it. This was the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
Well, on top of all that, and you're not wrong about anything, but if you did not know Giant was leaving, you would have watched him here and thought, this guy won't be around long. He's getting fat. He's got a new singlet. It doesn't fit very well. He's half-assing his way through this entire match. He went for the body slam, and that was it. He looked terrible. And then they do all the bullshit, and there's this sleevey, and I did a lot of shit. I don't know.
It sucked.
How many times have we talked about cosmic coincidences on this?
Many times.
Amazing. How amazing is it that here we are in the second week of October in 2017, and we watch an old Nitro, and it's the reunion of the Blade Runners. Their movie's out.
It's crazy. It's absolutely nuts.
So it's Hogan and Hart versus Warrior and Sting, or, as Michael Buffer called it, the greatest main event feature, a tag team match, the greatest tag team match in the history of WCW Monday Nitro on TNT. Which turned out to be wrong, by the way.
Well, you know what? Let's be fair. I mean, if you didn't know how much this sucked, and if you didn't know it was Nitro, this was the Ultimate Warrior and Sting versus Hulk Hogan and Bret Hart.
That is also a Hall of Fame.
on paper, that should be like the biggest match in the history of Nitro.
Just like the tag team match on Raw.
Yes, it sounds like a Mania main event. Buffer then describes Hogan and Sting as, or Warrior and Sting as, two men who are now united here on WCW Monday Nitro in a combination of action, power, speed, experience, and guile that has never been witnessed before. And here's where it occurred to me.
Thank God you wrote all this down.
Here's where it occurred to me. You know who's probably a huge Michael Buffer fan? Matt Stryker.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So they stalled forever. And of course, Sting did all the wrestling.
Warrior didn't even take off his ring jacket.
Warrior had he's out there on the apron.
He's got his bicep all. He's got a torn bicep.
He's in this coat that looks like it weighs about 80 pounds. He's just waiting for this hot tag. He distracts the ref about 8 times. So finally, he gets a hot tag. He makes a comeback in his coat.
Okay, hold on. The moment he got the hot tag, the place went nuts. It was 2 moves before they turned on him.
Yeah.
He hit the ropes. He did the most horrendous clothesline. He hit the ropes. He did another horrendous clothesline. He hit the ropes and did a third horrendous clothesline. That was his entire output in this match.
Yep. So the black and white hits the ring for the DQ. The ring begins to fill with smoke, but the NWO have a plan. They will stop Warrior from disappearing by throwing him out of the ring so he can't disappear in the smoke. So Warrior's on the floor. They're all like pointing and laughing at him. Ha ha ha, we outsmarted the Ultimate Warrior. And the smoke clears, and now Sting has a baseball bat. And he runs wild, and he chases them off. Warrior somehow in the melee gets a hold of Hogan's weight belt, and he is chasing them up the aisle. If there was any doubt that Giant had checked out, it was gone the way he sold this weight belt. Like doing high knees in place and waving his arms back and forth and screaming. He didn't give a fuck.
This sucked.
That was the end.
God, this sucked. The show's so bad.
So it was very
so bad. It's really feeling like the tide's turning here in this Raw Nitro war. Raw's been good for like 2 weeks. That's pretty good. Nitro's been horrible for 15 weeks in a row, I think. Whatever that July show was where Goldberg won the title. So that's shows, everybody. As noted, this Thursday, it is NXT and Lucha Underground. There's 2 shows left, and Lucha Underground is done. So after that, it'll be time to choose something new to replace it. As noted, the new TNA Impact Wrestling service is on the docket here. Maybe we could watch some old wrestling at the Chase. I'll make my decision later. We can all look forward to that. And that's it. We'll talk to you again after a while.
Good night.
Adios.
There's no place to escape to.
This is the last podcast.
On the left. That's when the cannibalism started.
What was that?
They're screaming through it. I just discovered all I had to do was put a bullet in her head.
Just kill the girl!
Kill the girl,
Jesus
that's
Christ,
fine.
Marcus, I feel like you've said that before to a lot of people. Just kill the girl.
Just kill the girl.
I think we'll just wait. She should be out of the bathroom any minute now.
It's simple. We kill the girl.
Kill the girl.
No, man. We just want breakfast. We just want a brunch.
I love brunch.
Brunch?
I'm a goose.
You got to leave that shirt down.
That is a big.
All right. Are we ready?
It's a big
shirt down.
ghost.
It is a big ghost. You would be a big ghost.
Are my breasts getting bigger?
No, they're not getting bigger. I don't know if it's possible. All right, are we ready?
We're ready.
Welcome to the last podcast with Marcus Parks and Ben Kissel. With us, as always, Large Preston.
And Boston Henry Zabrowski.
Oh, no. Not Boston. Vito.
No.
Vito.
I hate free people from Boston. I'm sorry if you're listening to this from Boston. You suck.
No, man. They're fine people. I hate the stereotypes
I just
of
wanted
Boston.
to say something horrible from the advantage of someone who's from Boston. That's Murder Fist's dildo.
No, it's not. That's my dildo.
No, this is the Murder Fist dildo.
That's
For those
my
listening
dildo.
at home, there's a dildo on the table, and now there's an argument about whose dildo is it.
This is the Murder Fist dildo.
That's my dildo.
And Henry is literally taking
That's the
Marcus's
dildo.
and
Sarah gave me that dildo for Christmas.
Ben and Gossett gave him the dildo. You're
That's my
taking it.
dildo.
What the fuck, Henry?
Fine.
You just go into every
Speaking
room.
of dildos.
Every room he goes into, he's stealing dildos.
Every room. Every time you're like a little kid. Oh, that's my dildo. Oh,
They're not all your dildos, Henry.
That's not your dildo anymore.
Other people have dildos.
I know what dildos are. I've tasted them.
All right.
I know you have.
Well,
I
speaking
watched
of-
you taste a dildo like 2 days ago.
I
It's really
tasted a dildo
strange.
on Friday. I tasted a dildo on stage.
Did you also put a dildo in your mouth
Yeah, it
on
was
Friday?
weird.
I was on mushrooms and I put a dildo in my mouth. That was real, man.
Yeah.
If you want to just
That is very real.
If you want to be a better actor, take mushrooms and do a show on them, and you forget that you're performing. You just forget that.
Yeah.
You just be the character.
It's almost like you're not performing.
I mean, it's like you're not if you're watching it. If you're watching it, everyone's like,
Right.
this isn't a performance. But in the inside, it's all sorts of connections are being made.
Nice. I had the show on Friday. There was a fella sitting there front row. He was drinking a white wine spritzer. I go in, start ripping him a little bit. He did it on purpose in honor of me from a Roundtable of Gentlemen episode.
What? You got to be shitting me.
I'm dead serious.
That is awesome.
Yeah, and he came up to my brothers after the show. They were there, and he's like, I got it for Ben because he loves wine spritzers. It was amazing.
That's amazing.
It's fucking wild.
That's
Anywho,
so cool.
Speaking of things that are really cool, today we're going to be talking about Heaven's Gate.
Yes.
Going back to 1997, the glory days.
The anniversary was not too long ago of the mass suicide of the Heaven's Gate cult, and I think we covered them briefly during our cult episode a long time ago.
We skimmed over it.
But
We're going
since
to
then,
dive in deeper today.
I just ended up one happy rainy Sunday a couple weeks ago. I was sitting there. I had smoked a bowl. And I discovered a link to all of the initiation tapes that someone had put up of Marshall Applewhite. Basically, at the very beginning of Heaven's Gate, when it started like once it got into its serious phase in like the early 90s, he made this direct-to-video like sort of introduction to Heaven's Gate.
Can we get a little backstory on Marshall Applewhite?
We're gonna go start from the beginning. We'll start from the beginning. But there was just something about this video that's like, you know how like when you work at a fast food restaurant and you have to watch a video of how you clean the fucking
Right, and they're
like,
always
traps?
rapping for some reason.
Yeah,
it's a rapping
like
video
that.
about the square patties at Wendy's, and you're like, this is weird.
He's like, why? I'm miserable. I'm a 40-year-old woman making $6 an hour. I don't need to see white people rapping about the safety of hot oil.
Definitely not. And then they go through the legal procedures of like you can keep the meat for one more day if you chop it up and put it in the chili, which is what Wendy's does. That's all day-old meat in the Wendy's chili. That's just a fact.
Yeah.
And it's illegal to serve it as a hamburger, but they found out you can serve it as a chili. So that's Wendy's for you. Keeping people unhealthy and fat and on the borderline food poisoning.
I call that recycling, Ben.
Oh, yeah, that's true,
The
too.
baked potatoes there, they just look like giant roach eggs. They're just roach nests. They're like, man, we're called potatoes.
They call it.
I think the cockroaches are making bigger, thicker, more fibrous nests over by the refrigerators. We take them up, we split them up, we fill them with sour cream. That's the Arabian Wendy's
Double
owner
the
that I
dollar
know.
sour cream. It's perfect.
Yeah.
So you're researching Mr. Applewhite.
I just got really into the video and I ended up sitting and watching it for an hour and a half and then got like really wrapped up into it. There's a lot of stuff in there.
Okay, so what was his main motivation for starting a cult other than he's obviously a messianic on the portions of John Lennon scale?
Well, in the early 70s, Marshall Applewhite, what was his original name?
Marshall Applewhite isn't his real name.
It's not his real name. No,
Why would he change it to that?
It's literally like, what is it, Marshall Applewhite? It's like Bonkers McGinky, or it's like my name is John Renda. Renda?
I know that his I think Marshall Applewhite is his real name because his middle name is Herf
Herf.
With 2 F's.
Good old
Herff?
Herf.
Should be making potato chips. That's starting a cult, for Christ's sake. Come on.
Herfs.
And he, good old Herf, he's fine. He's running a cult now.
Yeah. Got out of the chip game years ago.
Yep. No one wanted mustard chips.
Surprised you didn't hear about that. It was a pretty big story.
Offed himself. But in the,
got his balls off.
So Marshall has...
Everyone is yelling in his restaurant.
So Marshall's got the gift of gab, and he has a message to send.
He, in the late 70s, he had a heart attack and was sent into, he was in this hospital. And basically, from there, he came out of it. He was a music teacher in, I believe, Texas.
Really?
And he was a person of conflicted personality traits, you would say. He was gay.
He was gay.
Oh, he was gay?
Yeah, he was
But that was the whole thing. He was gay, but he was married, and that his marriage fell apart. And then after like a series of events, he had a heart attack, and then he checked himself into a psych hospital.
Okay.
And a nurse there by the name of Bonnie Nettles and him created a sort of unique bond where Bonnie, who also I guess was pretty unstable herself,
Sure.
who was
Full
a nurse.
name Bonnie Lou Truesdale Nettles.
Lou Truesdale.
With these middle names. I mean, I know that you don't really say them
We've
too
heard
much.
what was your other cousin's name? Is Jim Ed? Jim Ed.
You're talking about Jim Ed. He's not a cousin. He's just a friend. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of names.
Very close.
Texas has got some good old-fashioned, like, Lord of the Rings names, but in the South.
Jim Ed is my favorite name I've ever heard.
Teddy Sue is another one.
Teddy Sue.
is a
Well,
good one.
not a name.
That's your mom, right?
No, my mom's Billie Jean.
Billie Jean. That's right. So many names.
It's
good
tough.
names.
Billie Jean. I like that name.
But Bonnie Nettles and Marshall, they created this unique bond where sort of begin discussing things. She was like, "Oh, you're a special one like me," and he's like, "Well, what do you mean?" He's like, "Well, we're just a part of a higher plane of consciousness," and he's like, "Yeah,
Oh, so
that's a ticket."
She brought it up to him. He wasn't trying to fuck her. He brought it up to her.
Like literally, it was like. Marshall was going through this thing where it's like, I feel different than other people. You're gay. It's like, but there's something about me that's special and different. You're gay. And so it's like, Bonnie's like, you're not gay. You're just an alien. And he's just like, oh, of course I am. That's what me wanting to fucking throat so many young 9-inch cocks. Yeah. That's got to be an alien thing.
What kind of alien
sadder.
am I? Oh, you're a Jesus alien.
Oh, that's fun.
It's sadder that it was like, what was this, the 80s or the 70s?
This was the late 70s.
It was literally safer to pretend to be an alien than to be
gay. Especially in his life or whatever he was dealing with.
Right.
And him and Bonnie, he got out of the hospital and they started like a small sort of like informal discussion group. So basically, you know, first kind of talking about like UFOs as connected to like New Age philosophy, like this idea of like, can we transcend this life?
Okay.
Like what's past this? It's like, what does it mean to like join the next step of evolution?
Sure.
You know, and it started as a sort of like positive message thing, and mixing like various New Age concepts and stuff with Christianity.
Did this have any dabblings with Scientology at all?
Yes.
Well, I mean, not Scientology in like particularly, but it had a lot of sci-fi elements to
Okay.
it.
Yes.
Like
I love the sci-fi elements.
Yeah, they called the ones that actually killed themselves. They had little patches that said "Away Team."
Yeah, the
It
away
said
team.
Heaven Gates Away Team.
Wow.
And interesting, a very small interesting fact: Lieutenant Uhura's brother was among the dead,
Which is really crazy, and it kind of all falls into, because there's a lot of also people who think Star Trek is real,
Right.
Because you know people are sad. You know,
I want Star
life's
Trek to be
hard.
real.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that'd be great.
life is really
I
hard.
want the bar from Total Recall to be real with the 3-titted women running all around servicing you.
I want Quado to be real.
I'm just looking for somebody I can believe in.
Yeah.
You know,
I just want him to
Quado
live
is
inside of me.
If I saw Quado, I'd be like, this guy's got it.
Can you imagine how thrilled he would be if he saw me, a 6'7" man? I'm a mansion to this guy.
Take me.
All right, buddy. I got more than enough for a big family.
Weeks.
Hop on
2
top.
weeks.
Hop on up there. So they're talking about science. He's now officially an alien.
Well, they started like an informal sort of like chat session and started getting bigger and bigger. And the idea was that you have to eliminate things from your life that make you human in order to move on to the next plane. That your body is just a vehicle for a spiritual entity.
Yeah, their first group that they founded in 1975 was called Human Individual Metamorphosis.
Yeah.
Wow, that sounds like a very boring title for what it is.
Well, you just make it ham. You just make it. You make it. You just make it something that sounds really official.
Right.
And the idea is like you change your name. Like they were known as Doe and T.
They were also known as Bo and Peep for a little while.
And the idea,
Bo and Peep and Doe and T,
which kind of harkens back to the original sort of like Jesus and the Apostles. As you rename them,
Right.
You're someone new. It takes you away from
It's worse
who
names
you are.
than their middle names.
It was it was an allusion to the Book of Revelations, in which like the two messengers died for 3.5 days, and they were resurrected anew.
I see.
Yeah, Looney Town. But where they're
crazy, crazy bullshit.
Squeeze Town. It's from our little pilot that we're working
writing on a script.
A little
about
pilot.
Squeeze Town.
That doesn't really make sense in this situation. It's weird though. Every time he takes a pee-pee or a poo-poo, he's got to question all of his beliefs, right? Theoretically, he shouldn't be dumping.
It's mostly just when he had a boner. Every time he had a boner, he quit. Like, that was what was bad. And so it's like what started from there. So as they went, they got more and more severe. You know, and then it got to a point of like being sexless, like shaving your head and heavy.
So he just shut down his sexuality, as opposed to being gay.
In 1993, he the thing is, Bonnie Nettles died of cancer in '85,
and that's what he said. It was like what that was. What I love about cults and stuff like this is like as you're reading it, it started off very simple. Like it started as like him and Bonnie had this like ethereal, otherworldly relationship, and that they were helping people transcend humankind. But it was just about more about changing your thought patterns.
But then as life goes on, they have to validate their beliefs, and then it just gets off the fucking rails.
Yeah, shit.
How do you explain cancer?
Yeah, it's just when you get to season 7, and all of a sudden you got a talking shark in there, and everyone's just like, "This was a show about a radio station." All of a sudden, that's what when she died, he was like, "Well, what she did was that." She chose to leave her vessel to go up to the ship.
She chose cancer and chemotherapy.
She chose, exactly.
A couple of years of struggle.
Well, she chose none of it. She just died.
Oh,
she
right.
She just got cancer.
Because she's a person?
But she also just did no treatment. She just died hard.
Oh, she did it. Okay.
Very badly.
Interesting.
But so as it went, it began unfolding into it's sort of personal personal evolution, and then it started incorporating the ancient astronauts idea of ancient aliens.
Aliens.
Aliens, man. and
I love Ancient Aliens.
I fucking love
God,
that
I love that show so much.
I just want to be on it.
Yeah.
Just to be like, yeah. Oh man, I'm with you guys.
Yeah.
Just not saying anything intelligent. Just
the
back
thing
them up.
is that you got to think, how can humans do this?
They can't. It's aliens.
And they can't. So, what's the logical conclusion?
Aliens.
not like a leverage or a pulley system.
No,
they're smarter than we think.
Never thousands of years and 25 generations of slaves to make anything happen.
And then they turn to the actual expert, and the expert just goes, no. Absolutely not.
How upset would you be if you were a slave that built the pyramids and you fucking find out that humans have officially forgot you and they're blaming it on aliens? They're giving all the credit to fucking things that don't exist.
I was squashed by a giant rock.
For Christ's sake! The smallest corner on the pyramid.
Aliens, daddy.
So this was already now 1993. So we're 15 years. Nearly 20 years of evolution of this idea.
This was a long time coming. This was his life story, and it's he began incorporating the ancient aliens idea, and the idea was that he believed that they were. There was a concept in the 60s, in the original new age ideas about extraterrestrials of this thing called walk-ins, which is and it's an example. So think of Quantum Leap.
Okay.
Where it's you have a personality, and then a walk-in is some sort of alien intelligence that inhabits you for a period of time. And then what they believe is that ancient aliens created the seed of humankind in order to create vessels to inhabit, and that once humans reached a certain level of evolutionary understanding or whatever of consciousness, that they would come in, they would walk into human life and then help us go to the next step, which is leaving our vehicles behind and joining the space station, where we'll do our many experiments to help expand the universe.
Makes all the sense in the world,
right? It's just ABCD.
Well, I mean, just to hammer home how much they believed in this, in 1996, the entire group purchased alien abduction insurance.
Oh, my God.
To cover up to 50 members.
Great insurance companies.
At a cost of $10,000.
Wow.
Oh, my God. Oh, my. The guy was also selling 2 left shoes.
Spent $10,000 on alien abduction insurance.
You watch, honey. People are going to buy this dumb shit. I promise you.
Harold, you'll never make it. You'll never be an insurance salesman.
500 orders.
I just gotta find that one area. No, jackpot.
This is like so excited. Oh man,
my clients keep killing themselves. God
we have
damn
got
it,
to lie to people more.
Yeah, we gotta lie.
We gotta sell people fake shit more often.
I can totally see the alien idea though, because scientists are making little life in that petri dish now. It's reasonable that something came down here, started us off, and then just has watched the live theater.
It's honestly, it is kind of reasonable, but I don't want to actually say it out loud.
Right. I know
it's like kind of a thing. Like I am into it. I wish it was real so hard.
I mean, if I would have left the meeting of him, I would have been like, well, he does have one point though. Creepy talker, but I think aliens probably did make us.
Aliens could have made us.
So he's not wrong about that.
But that's
hairstyle's wrong though.
The hairstyle's strange.
I'm not shaven.
Yeah, I don't want to look like that.
I mean, really, the theory that aliens might have made us really makes a lot more sense than God made us.
Yeah,
I mean, because aliens could maybe exist.
Yeah.
Like maybe.
Yeah. I hope they do. I mean,
aliens definitely exist, but it's like just wonder if they have been here. That would be so awesome.
Little worm creatures.
But then Mitt Romney would be right. You know what I mean? Like those guys would be right.
I would love it. If Scientologists and Mormons were right, I would be the happiest little camper in the world.
It'd be pretty sweet.
But I just don't want to join. All those people are so stupid and weird, and they don't get to do anything fun. They can't even drink coffee.
You don't need coffee, man. You're half an alien.
I guess that's true. Technically, you get bumped up. Everything's good.
So in '95, that's when he really went all in with the alien shit?
That's when he fully came out and claimed that, like, he was a representation of his father's spirit. His father came to Earth, created him, like sort of like he was birthed off of him as a spiritual entity, and then when his father died, he went back up to the space station, is like working the controls, like making room for him, and that he's basically here saying
making room. I thought there was no bodies.
Well, as it started, like as it developed, it turned into this idea that Earth was going to be recycled, which I also love the term recycle, which means everybody dies, right? So it's like that's what you say. It's just like he got lessons from our government as to how to frame people, like how to say the words everybody's going to die.
So with this message in the 90s, is this when he started to attract like? I mean, how many people were in this group total? It
was like 49, right?
So it never really got too crazy.
The actual total, the death toll. Eventually, I mean, there were 39 who died in 39 died in like that mass 3-day suicide. Hale-Bopp. And then there were 2 more that committed suicide later.
A little bit later. So this was like he found a winning argument for the first time. Up to this point, he was just sort of alone.
Hale-Bopp clinched the whole thing because what that's what we were saying is I was watching this documentary and basically they were saying that he was just getting more and more desperate and fucked up and like as a person, like wondering what the point of all this is, where this is headed to, and then this news came out about Hale-Bopp coming, like breezing by Earth or whatever the term is, and he was like, "Oh, that's it." And like at some point he was like, Bonnie sent us a message, and that's what this message is. Hale-Bopp, and that spaceship that she's on is right behind it. That's why we can't see it, guys. And they're all like, excellent, that's good, that makes sense. And then the suicide thing didn't even happen until even further like into it. It was like the suicide thing was like it was just a lifestyle thing, and then like after a while it was like once they realized, like once Hale-Bopp was coming, they were like, how do we get to it? And he's just like, we got to kill ourselves. Like we have to do that. We have to do that in order to move on.
Well, on the site they say this is our position against suicide. They didn't what they considered suicide was to continue living on this earth, to turn away.
They did it wrong.
Yeah, it's the opposite.
You didn't say that right. You didn't think about it right.
Fucking opposite.
It's like when Holden woke up this morning, we're sitting there writing. Holden wakes up from Round Table of Gentlemen. It's pouring rain. It's freezing cold outside. Oh, what a beautiful rainy Sunday. Hey, you fucking idiot. God God, you're wrong. It's a terrible rainy Sunday. And suicide is when you die on Earth.
Yeah, suicide is suicide.
Yeah, suicide
is
Suicide isn't keep on living.
But that's so. And then it further continued, and then him and like 9 other members castrated themselves.
They went down to Mexico.
They went to get a Mexican castration.
What the fuck?
Oh, God, that does not sound like you should take it literally.
Get me the sharp burrito. Bring me your sharpest burrito.
Yeah, look, see,
What? Burritos aren't sharp, Henry. I had one earlier. It was filled with eggs and cheese, and it was delicious and soft.
Where'd you get it?
Here.
I feel like they just like tethered a nylon rope to their cocks and had a donkey run. And then their dicks just got tore off.
Yeah.
Oh, they didn't cut out their dicks, just their balls.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, that's castration.
So you lose the balls, keep the dick.
Yeah.
Oh, I just always thought you just chopped the whole thing right off there.
No,
you can't just do that.
Eunuchs do that.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
But I think you have to do that as a baby, or something weird happens. You can't just cut off your penis.
Yeah, you can.
Can you?
Yeah, you can do it while you grow older. Yeah.
We should look up how people do it now.
We'll look it up for a later episode, and that'll be disgusting. So I'm excited for that.
No, I know quite a bit about the castrati.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They were Catholic people that were they were castrated at a very young age to give them
keep on singing
like a high singing voice. And there's only one known recording of
what happened to
castrati.
Lance Vance.
Man,
because
really?
they stopped doing it in the 1800s. So
What
there's only
I
one
love is
recording.
1800s, that seems like a little recent.
I would say it's very recent.
Slightly too recent for me, to be honest with you.
Religion is so right.
It is.
It's pretty amazing.
What was the spiritual meaning behind the castration of the men, other than their own hatred of their balls?
That's what it is. It's to further
They were
every
gay.
human.
They were
impulse
all
you have.
gay. Is that the theory?
Well, I don't know if they all were,
No.
but Marshall was.
They were just weird and couldn't get laid. You know,
Yeah.
so it was like if you're already joining a cult, then you already have some essential personality flaw. So it's like you're already in there. You're missing something, and it's like you obviously probably. I mean, like you're just not being awesome. You know what I mean? Like you're obviously not cool.
No.
You're not a DJ in a nightclub in New York City if you're joining a cult like that.
Do we have any breakdown of the average of the occupations of these people? Or
We
what is
have all
average
over the map.
income?
Yeah, we have the average ages, though. Most of them were in their 40s, but the ages range from 26 to 72.
And it was really sad. So basically leading up into
Middle
the
class
days
people.
that they
I don't know.
Yeah.
It was all over the map.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it was like there was a black couple that left their kids.
Mm-hmm.
There's this black couple
Really?
just like left their kids, and then it was just this couple that were fighting all the time, and then they saw the pamphlet for it, and so they joined up with the cult, and then they're getting into it, and then the husband finally was like, hey, this is really fucked up. We're not having sex
thing.
anymore, and like we're not in a human relationship anymore. And then but his wife was like, I love it.
Yeah, women would love it. No sex in the marriage. Women are fine with it.
Not all.
not all.
Every woman that I've ever touched has never liked it. What? No. Too true. Edit it out. They love me. Gals love me. It's a beautiful rainy Sunday.
And then when towards the end, they finally built it up. So, like in the weeks leading up into the mass suicide, before it was even decided that they were going to kill themselves, what they started to do was talking about how they wanted to die, and then they started doing these open talks. And what Marshall Applewhite was hoping was going to happen was that while doing these out in the public sort of discourses, someone would show up with a machine gun and shoot them all in the head so that they could all pass on without committing suicide, because he was too afraid. Everyone was really afraid of the idea
Makes
of committing
sense
suicide.
because they know in the bottom of their heart that they're wrong with their ideas of death.
Yeah, because your body fights it at every fucking possible instant. And so, but at that point, again, it's just you have a whole group of people who threw away their whole lives. They threw away families. They threw away all human connection. They don't have any money. They don't
It's
have
just
any
like when your
possessions.
father is driving down the wrong road and you're going the wrong way, Dad. And you're like, no, I'm not. He knows he's going the wrong way, but
We're going to a baseball game. It's 5 a.m.
And here's yet another layer to this entire thing. How these people made money. They had they rented out a big mansion in San Diego, $7,000 a month. How they made money? Web design.
Yeah, it was just really
this is
fun.
1996,
I remember that.
1997. Yeah, the hell?
If they were web designers, why did they steal the Green Bay Packers logo and just paint it black?
Because they were programmers, not
graphic
designers. Yeah, they were programmers.
They didn't live off Bedford. They lived off Montrose.
I see. It does seem to make sense, though, with the brain of a programmer. They are sort of alien creatures from hell.
They had problems.
So I can see how they don't relate to anybody normal because they love numbers and bizarre sequences. Very alien.
But they were it's just such a mystery to me. So towards the end, they put together this goodbye tape.
Okay.
Where it was like each one of them did this sort of solo interview, which you can watch online, which is them just talking about how like so excited to finally join the away team and do all this stuff.
Away team
all,
thing. It's just too lighthearted for what they're doing.
Except for one girl who's just crying throughout the whole video because you're right, get out of there. And
Leave.
then,
Let the tears.
one guy,
flow. You leave with
one
them.
really smart guy who like was the one where you remember the video that they use on the SNL tape of like the that sketch where it's just like Nike.
Say you want a revolution.
And it's like Reebok and it showed all the Nikes.
Keds.
Oh yeah, Keds. Yeah. And the guy who did that is a guy named who's like Rio. He had this ridiculous fake name that they gave him. It's like Rio or Dio or something like that. And what he did, really smart, is that he walked up to Marshall Applewhite during the final days and he was like, "Hey, you know,
Rio D'Angelo.
He said, "Hey, you know
Sounds
what's
hot.
like? You know what we need? You know, is we need somebody to not kill themselves." So they can tell everybody what's going on in here. And he's just like, "Oh my God, Rio, you're a fucking genius." And he's just like, "Yeah, right, yeah. So I'll go and I'll do all the interviews, and I'm gonna take a lot of pictures, I'm gonna have a good time. I'll write a book, I don't need to kill myself. I can't kill myself."
He's better than killing himself. He's going to suffer here on Earth. He's really the one killing himself, according to their mind.
Yeah,
so he's a martyr.
Yeah, he's the one that's committing suicide.
And
the martyr lives in this story. Interesting.
The whole thing's sad.
Did they have to kill themselves in a specific way? Was there a juice, or did somebody put a broomstick up their ass and jump off a refrigerator? Or
no,
still the most insane suicide I have ever heard.
It's true.
Oh yeah, the broomstick is.
But they all
what they did was they did a mixture of phenobarbital. What else was it? God damn it!
So they pop pills and just
they did what Elvis did every day.
It was
killed them.
It was a mixture. There was phenobarbital mixed with applesauce or pudding, washed down with vodka.
Mm-hmm. I don't think you need the vodka. You know, the vodka is not going to kill you.
Vodka helps you go to sleep.
Oh, I see. Yeah, just to relax.
You know, like how we go to sleep
every single night, and then I scream. I wake up at 3 a.m. screaming about something. But that's just me.
Well, you're a natural newsman. That's all. Your body just wants to be a troubadour from medieval times.
I know it, man. I know all about it.
You can't do that anymore.
I had a dream last night where a cop gave me a gun and asked me to be his partner.
Cool.
It was great. We were walking around the streets and he's like, "You know how to use a .40 caliber?" I'm like, "Of course I know how to use a .40 caliber."
Of course, sure thing, mister.
Yeah, of course, man. Come on, mister. And we went and caught some criminals and I shot at people. It was so much fun.
That is a lot of fun.
It's the most fun I've had in a dream in a long time.
That's great. I had good dreams all weekend too. I just don't remember any of them.
So should we should we watch the tape or?
Yeah, let's listen. Let's listen to the tape.
So we're gonna listen. This is his final speech that he gave just before.
This is the exact opposite.
Video. Yeah.
Oh, this is
his
immediately
prep
after.
Video. Yeah. No, this is before. This is at the very beginning when Heaven's Gate really shifted into being Heaven's Gate as we know it. This was his initiation video that he threw out there, and I think it would just be fun to we're sitting in a living room together watching this for the first time and see if it gets you or not.
I'm excited. I want to hear it. I want to see if I'm convinced.
Oh, I mean, I was watching it for an hour and a half, and then by the end, I'm just like, this guy's got some fun things to say.
He does. And one more thing, though, about the Nike shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Why did they decide on the Nike shoes?
Because they got them on sale.
That was literally it?
Yeah, they were brand. Yeah.
A sale? They got them on sale? That's why they chose those shoes?
And also, I was reading about it too. Their last meals, they went to a diner in town, and they ordered it ahead of time, and he said that they showed up, and that they all came in, they're all dressed exactly alike, and they had a table set because they used to come in like once a month for this sort of like weird celebration. They all had a chicken pot pie and chocolate cake, and they all just sat and laughed and talked and sing songs and this thing, and then they all went and killed themselves.
God, they must have looked like fucking lunatics.
Yeah.
I mean, they are lunatics.
They were all dressed black sweatpants and black t-shirts.
But that's how I felt. I used to work in Clearwater, Florida, which is the Scientology capital of the world. I used to work at the Borders there, and I swear to fucking God, it looks like Star Trek because it's this big silver building, and like everyone walks around downtown Clearwater in these silver jumpsuits with these clipboards, and they're all walking around just like, "Good day, citizen." I'm just like, "You're fucking crazy! Get out of the store!" Every time I saw him, I was like, "You're crazy!"
You just want to put on the They Live glasses as soon as you fucking see them.
Ugh, everyone's crazy.
All right. It's too bad Puma wasn't running a sale. I mean, really could have helped a lot of poorer shoe
I
companies.
need arch support. I can't just get cheap shoes.
Yeah. All right, let's listen to what this psycho has to say.
All right. 1.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Are you good?
Wait, are you on 0?
I'm on 0. 1, 2, 3.
Classroom.
Hey there, Marshall.
Or in old language, a couple thousand years ago, disciples. Those who are trying to prepare themselves for entry into the evolutionary level above human, synonymous with the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven.
I'm going to drink every time he blinks.
The
We're
kingdom
going
of
to
heaven
talk
is
to you
within.
We got to blink.
the most urgent thing that is on our mind.
Tostitos,
and
Doritos.
What we suspect is the most urgent thing on the minds of those who will connect with us.
Smoking weed.
We'll
fucking
title
watching
this
horror
tape.
movies.
This isn't for
Yeah.
us. This cult isn't for us.
Planet Earth about to be recycled.
You're losing me.
Your only chance to evacuate is to leave with us.
Cool. So are we taking a car?
Planet Earth about to be recycled.
So we're taking a boat.
Your only chance to survive or evacuate is to leave with us.
Hey, Marshall, this is getting kind of heavy.
Now, that's pretty major statement.
It is.
Pretty bold in terms of
I like it.
religion,
He's self-aware.
in terms of anybody's intelligent thinking.
Hey,
To
Marshall,
most
maybe you should
people
blink
who would
once,
consider
and
themselves
I could maybe
intelligent
listen to you
beings,
some
they'd say,
more.
"Oh, that's
'Cause I'm just
that's
staring into
absurd.
the
What's
whites
all
of
this
your eyes.
doomsday
Blink.
stuff?
Drink.
What's all this prophetic stuff?" You know, intelligent human beings
Which you
should
are.
realize that everything has their cycle.
That's true.
They have their season.
Like that
They
song.
have their beginning. They have their end.
Turn, turn,
they
turn,
have
yeah.
cycles.
Yeah.
We're not saying that planet Earth is coming to an end.
No.
We're saying that planet Earth is about to be refurbished, spaded under,
It's coming to an
and
end,
have
yeah.
another chance
Faded
to
under.
Yeah,
serve
all of
as
a
a
sudden he's,
garden
like,
for
reticulating
another
splines.
human civilization. Now, the reason this
He's
is
getting
such
so
an
tired.
interesting time is not only because we're on the threshold of the end of this civilization,
I'm in a bar
because
and he's
it's
trying to
about
fuck
to be
me.
I
recycled,
just want to see the cue card
but
boys
because
sweating when you
of
can't get the
where
next one
that
out
finds
fast enough.
us, where that finds you, where that finds those who would judge us,
Everyone will judge you.
how we would speak of them and how they would speak of us.
Crazy town.
Now you say you keep saying us.
Henry, I can see how
Who do
you watch this for an
think
hour and
you
a
are?
half.
That's pretty soothing.
Well, I
toss some
in
sort of like
all
slow
honesty,
jam jazz behind it and
must
smoke a bowl. It's a lot of fun.
acknowledge my
I know what I'm doing
Father.
with my day off.
My father is not a human father. My father is a member of the evolutionary level above human, the kingdom of God,
He is so proud of his
Marshall,
the
just
kingdom
come
of
with
heaven.
me. The doctor just wants to say hello.
My
just
father
come, just
gave
come,
me
just let him say hello.
long before
he
this
just wants to meet you.
civilization gave me birth into that kingdom level above human, that kingdom of heaven, that kingdom of God. Now you can say, well, I can't believe that. Well, it's up to you whether you believe that or not.
He really does. He
That's
does leave a back
not
door.
important to me, even though I wish that you could believe it for your sake.
He really is sort of
For those who
charming.
do believe it,
No, he was in a
stand
bunch of
a
musicals.
possibility
As I was
of a
saying, it's like he was
future
in Music Man
beyond
and all
this
that stuff. He was a really
recycling
good
time.
actor for a while.
Now you say, well, according to religious literature, I thought there was someone else that was going to come and be our savior here at these end days. That was going to be Christ's return.
That's also insane.
Well, the name Christ might be a little confusing, or the name Jesus, because the name Jesus, of course, was the name given to the body that mind that was indeed from the kingdom of heaven came.
I just feel like it's
And
4
that
in the
mind
morning at a
was
party.
here 2,000 years ago,
This
and
is
that
like as the
mind
party
came
goes
for
down.
the express purpose of teaching humans how they could be saved, how
can
they
someone
would
put on
not
some music?
be plowed under
Yeah,
at
this
the
is
end of
that
the
guy
age.
who does a
Well,
bunch
we're
of
at the
coke
end of
and
the
then
age.
smokes some weed at the end of the night.
So the one or the mind that was in Jesus, what?
What?
That
I lost it too. It's
mind is in me. You'll have to decide that for yourself.
Crazy town.
I must admit that I am here again, that I'm here saying exactly the same thing that I said then, trying to say it in today's language, trying to hope that for your sakes you can see what we have to offer you, for our Father offers you life.
Oh, wow.
Not talking about human life.
I'm not going to be here for
if
the next
planet
show.
is about to be recycled, and we see the planet as a stepping stone. Planet Earth, a stepping
fabulous,
stone.
wonderful
that just
swans.
as
it's what will
within
be.
a civilization evolves upward, that each segment of civilization becomes more civilized, less barbaric in some ways. It's supposed to. Not that it necessarily does. Sometimes it seems to appear to be more civilized when, in fact, it becomes more barbaric.
That's kind of interesting.
More quick to condemn the rest of the world. More quick to kill the rest of the world that does not think as it thinks.
What kind of wig?
Well, I know what I just said.
Definitely, he's a blonde.
I imagined a Cher wig.
I am the return of the Son of my Father. I'll tell you something that's even more remarkable.
I say this in the mirror every day, but that just gets me
My Father came with me this time. Came in the early 70s.
Water,
took on a human form, an adult human form. Helped me get in an adult human form in the early 70s, and we together helped those who came with us that were also here 2,000 years ago get in the bodies that they were wearing so that they could rid themselves of human behavior, human activity, human thinking,
all those fat suits,
so that they could be ready to move into the kingdom of heaven. Or the evolutionary level.
Like that. It's when they're no collar
human.
Shirt.
Yeah,
these that are sitting before me
that.
have been students of T and Do.
These people get naturally sort of skittish around people dressed like that.
Have been students of
like
T and Do, are still students of T and Do, even though T returned to the heavens in 1985.
Yeah, she died for real.
And T is my heavenly Father. Gave me birth into that kingdom before this civilization began.
Possible.
Now, I'm not here to sell you on that, or who I am,
crazy,
or who these are. I'm here to offer
like if they
you,
had me
as
every once
these
in a
are,
while just doing
an
that, they would have
opportunity
stopped
to
killing
know
themselves.
the truth, so that if you can connect with it at any level, then you might survive the respading
that's also a thing that cult
or
leaders
the
get you to do. It's like it makes you feel special.
that is
it makes you feel
about
like
to
you're a part
occur.
of something. It's like being in the Latin Kings.
We made a tape just shortly ago, and in that tape we said that there are 3 types of individuals that will survive
short, fat, and fun.
I like
and
all
that's
3
the end
of those.
That's the end of part 1. You got, of course, all the rest of it's on YouTube.
Wow, man.
We need to totally put up. If we put up the link in the description of the first video, just so people can watch it while we do it, or whatever. And then the other thing is, watch all of it. Get into it.
Yeah, just
love it.
Put on fucking Kinda Blue and just have a good night.
He definitely
down to it.
He lulls you kind of into believing.
He's got a really
in
nice
a
voice.
way. He does have a nice voice, a good performance. I think it was probably a peaceful suicide anyway, if he was just talking over the intercom system the entire time.
Well, it happened over a course of 3 days.
Now, why did it happen over 3 days?
So people could administer it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
then
people helped, one wave, so it's like one people helped those people along because they all were put in, they had black sheets put over their heads.
Mm-hmm. And they did not.
Style.
And they didn't move the bodies at all after they died. So by the time they were found, I think it was 6 days after the first suicide. So all of the bodies were in an intense decomposition because it was also a very warm summer or a very warm spring in San Diego.
Do you smell bodies? Yeah. Do you smell bodies out here?
Hey, does anyone smell bodies? I don't know. Let's go surfing.
All right.
I think I smell somewhere between 39 and 41. 39 bodies.
Let's go, Cody. Let's go surfing.
Those people that kill themselves on the 3rd day, I actually have a lot of respect for them. They see the death all around. They must at that point be questioning the faith. I mean, that's a tough thing to do. I would definitely go on the day 1. Die on day 1.
Oh, yeah.
It's got to be easy.
That's why I like going to the first day of movies, because I don't want anybody to spoil for me.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
All right.
Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Is that a similarity kind of?
All right. Well, I feel like we all got really sleepy from that.
I'm yawning.
No, you're tearing up and crying and yawning.
It's just beating us.
I'm gonna go
He's
out and buy
winning
some.
on it.
He
Like,
is
I just could
winning.
never be in a cult. I just won't be in one.
Well, they don't want you. They don't want you in
They
one.
do if they only knew how good I'd be for them. I
would
go
be the
in there.
best.
I would be a good.
You would be
for
an
that.
amazing addition to any cult. That's what everybody's always said about Henry. And the day that you die, that's what I'll say.
Yeah.
As well.
What a
At your
great
funeral.
cog in the machine.
He would have been wonderful.
I love him. Yeah, he's just making units to be shifted. I love him.
Any other information you want to share with the audience about? I feel like we really
I
hammered it out.
think we really wrapped that up. That was quite nice.
I love this.
Cool.
I just find it so interesting, and like because every once in a while we should just do an episode always totally based on an entire different cult.
And if you have a favorite cult or anything that you want to share with us, let us know. And
or if you're in a cult and you want to talk about it, that'd be
Love
really
to hear
awesome.
from
That would
you.
be
Please,
fantastic.
dude.
Yeah,
or
Cave
if there's
Comedy.
anyone ex-member of a cult,
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Please.
CaveComedyRadio@gmail.com.
that would be amazing.
All right, guys, that's been the last podcast on the left with Marcus Parks, Ben Kissel. Thank you, Henry.
I'm a squid.
You're a squid. Boston.
Yeah, Boston.
You're
Boston
0
was
for
a
2.
mistake.
Your intro and outro 0 for 2.
Hong Kong. Oh, when it rain in China. Oh, it's Swiss.
May Gustulation.
Hi, old man.